What's up, people? It's your man, Black Cobra, back once again with the Wheel Life Show. As usual, we will talk about all things electric, all these PEVs, all things that are going on around our community, and everybody can jump in and join in, chime in, and let's talk about it. Today, we are going to dive into something that is very mysterious to many in the world of EUC. I've gotten tons of questions on this. I couldn't answer any of them, but I have somebody here today who will have no problem answering all the questions you may have when it comes to the GodMod. We're talking about none other than the one and only, my man Declan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm really excited.
It's good to have you, man. Look, I can just go like this, take those questions and pass it to you because there have been well, what does it do this and does it do? I was like, I don't know, I have no idea. So
it mops the floor, it sweeps the room.
There it goes. It does everything. It does all your needs wrapped up in one. The GodMod featured brought to you by Declan. So you guys can see
go ahead,
he's got his jacket on, so he's ready. He's got
my authoritative lab coat.
That's right.
Official lab coat.
That's it. That's his creative coat right there. That's the gets the juices flowing.
Exactly.
I love it. Oh, already we got people in the chat here. My EUC journey. What's up, Euro? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Oh, let's pump him up there. Put him up top. There you go. And the last warrior. I recently had GodMod prosthetically installed in my legs.
That's Edwin.
All right, Edwin.
He's and I wonder his GodMod on the Sherman, the OG Sherman. Yep.
Okay, OG Sherman with the GodMod. Okay, we got Squall Heart is in here. Yes, it should be interesting. Definitely Squall. It will be. E-Rider A, what's up, buddy? Our Canadian connection over there.
He loved it too. He loved it on the MSP.
Yes.
While chasing B13. On the demo wheels. So Brett definitely he's part of the fam.
We got E Simon in here. What's up? Good day, mate. From down under. We got Adventures in Gold. Amped Electric Games. Seth, the one and only Seth Johnson, my man. What's up? What up, Seth? Okay, when somebody made their gay Zen Lee, really? Like, I can't even, like, look, our crowd is just crazy. Y'all crazy.
Yeah, there's some characters.
Amber Rose. Yeah, you gotta love them. All right, B Rye is in here. He's laughing because of your lab coat. You know it. Oh, Sparkles is in here. What up, Sparkles?
Hey, Sparkles.
She said GodMod supremacy. We got Shira Kit Kat is in here. What's up, Shira? Yeah.
Hey, Shira.
Yo, we got a lot in here. Spartacus is in here. What's going on, man? Teach me the GodMod, the one mod to rule them all.
It takes 20 minutes.
Yo, that's crazy. All right, so we need to talk about this because Gone 420 is in here, Devo is in here. All right, so I need an explanation.
Yep, I'm glad
on what GodMod is, how you came up with it. And just give it to us. Talk to us, Declan.
Of course. So GodMod is a performance upgrade for electric unicycles. It's very simple to install and it doesn't require any tools. It boosts the power of your wheel, which makes it safer to ride over bumps, uphill, in the cold, and in a variety of other use cases. It's based on capacitor technology, but it incorporates numerous safety features to ensure that it fits the EUC use case, where it's waterproof, dustproof, crash-proof, and rated for the amount of life that you would expect on an electric unicycle. So it's warranted for 3 years, 30,000 miles, a very substantial amount of time, roughly the lifespan of any wheel that you would put it in, but it is transferable. It's more or less a universal part, but there are multiple different models, and I can show them just to get a feel of the sizing. But it's tangible. It's not just a sticker, contrary to popular belief, and it is not a placebo. I don't dabble in those sorts of things. This is something that I tested myself for 1,000 miles, month's time before I was even willing to tell anyone else about the effects that it has.
Okay.
It's something, admittedly, there were other people who used this similar technology in EUCs before I did. They were in Russia. And so people love to tell me that I'm not the first to build a better mousetrap. And of course not. There are other people who have done it. Any great knowledge stands on the shoulders of its predecessors. And so this is very much the same. It is a stronger and safer device than anything else that's out there. You cannot buy this anywhere. I make them all by hand. I have a team of folks that I work with to ensure that they're all made safe and secure for riders and that they can work reliably in your wheel for a long period of time. It's not something that you need to plug in, use for one race and throw away. I had tested other units where that would have had to have been the case, but I wanted to make this to a standard that everyone would hope for and it would exceed people's expectations. And so in the wild, having riders use it and test it, we've seen that it holds up to very intense usage. And if it does fail, there's redundancy in the system so that the wheel is still safe to ride. And you will feel the difference if it were to have an issue. So it would be easy to diagnose and you could replace it. So I realize it's a bit verbose.
But when you say that, that's like I just got a video sent to me today with Willie Brady. And he was saying just that. He said, I could tell when it wasn't working. Yes. I was pulling on the cord, and then when it was, he said, you could see that when he was in the drag race, he said, it wasn't attached. It wasn't working. He said, that's why, he said, but before that, he said, it was definitely working, and it felt great. And I was like, okay.
So, and the difference is obvious. So, he's not, nobody has ridden it and been unable to tell that it has an effect.
Right. Okay.
So far.
Right. Well, that's a good thing. Knowing that the effect is there and knowing that it's doing what it's supposed to do is important. Because when I saw him go down and it seemed like he had issues, I was like, what happened? And I was like, okay. So I was waiting for an explanation. And then when he came out and Don Champion sent me his video today, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So he knew exactly what was going on. What I want to ask, and before anybody else, because a lot of people out in the chat already know more about this, because you're in New York, so I know that a lot of people you deal with a lot of people and talk to a lot of people about it. But I'm not there, so I don't get any of that. So my stuff is all later on. And one of the things I want to know is, does it have to be that same size box that Willie Brady was carrying?
No, that's a great question. That is actually the latest innovation from the GodMod laboratory. So that's the God box, and that's not actually available for purchase because I'm not sure if it's safe for regular consumers. So what we do have available are regular size GodMods, roughly the size of a wallet.
Okay.
So just to give a sense, these are the ones that are available, and those, they're much easier to manage. You don't have to worry about it unplugging or being damaged. So they're small units. These black ones fit outside the wheel, and they say GodMod on them. Not sure if you can tell, but those kinds of concerns that he was having about it unplugging and the mechanical difficulties, it does actually prove that the design worked. And it was unfortunate to see that he had to crash to demonstrate it, but he won the first race. Yep. And then he crashed in the backwards race while in first, and that had caused damage in turn. I haven't yet evaluated the box, so this is just based on the rider giving the feeling. So after the backwards race, it was definitely not working anymore. And so for the drag race, which happened at the end, that was where he cut off because it was a regular M10 by that point.
Right. So he thought it was a God-modded M10, but it was no longer so.
So it does prove that it was able to provide him that power to do well in the beginning. And it's unfortunately it did break, but that M10 race is a whole story in and of itself, because I was scrambling to get that box to California from the East Coast in a very short turnover. and I love to tell you that story because it's just the most recent example of the latest innovation that we have. So that box is just a connection. Roger had spoken about it last week, and he was spot on. It's just a collection, a series of multiple God mods together, roughly 20 to 30, and you're combining the power and the effectiveness. So what that does is it gives you access to a much larger pool of power that you can draw from. So you're getting the same God mod effect, but it's just a larger resource. And that's what and so what I'm searching for is where exactly that sweet spot is for every wheel and how big that box has to be, so to speak. And some wheels you have room inside to fit an appropriate God mod, but other wheels you have no room whatsoever. And so we have to use something external.
So those white ones that you have there are the ones that were internal.
Those are both internal pieces. And so at this point, I haven't yet very well charted out which ones fit for which wheel. I just know a lot of the wheels, what they look like. So someone tells me I have such and such wheel, it's a Gotway, I'm pretty much seen that wheel inside and out. And so it's been a little tough because people don't know which one should I get. But if anyone reaches out directly, I can tell you which sizes are compatible, and I'm going to publish that information soon just so you can know. There's a small, medium, large. Some wheels could fit 3 large, and some wheels can't even fit 1 small. And it's just, if you've opened your wheel, then you would know that for yourself. But anyone could install this upgrade as a first-time mod without having done anything else before. And it does work with the battery. So there's some caution that you need to take, but this is a mod for any first timer could do based on the simplicity. It's all plug and play. You just have to open up the panel, access the power connectors.
So Squallheart said so capacitors but wrapped in heat shrink? Question mark. He's asking.
So I wanted to address this question as well because people like to say God mod equals capacitors. And so I want to give an analogy. Imagine we were in an artisanal bakery and you walked inside and you looked at all the loaves of bread and the cakes and the muffins and you said flour plus water and asked them, is that what you have here? And, the answer is yes. But the answer is also that it requires an intense amount of craftsmanship to create something that is safe for human consumption and consistent in flavor. And so the God mod doesn't have a flavor, but it has power delivery. And the reality is if you combine those 2 ingredients that you mentioned, just slap them together, you could make something that at best doesn't do anything and at worst is entirely dangerous to use. So those are some components that are in the God mod. That's not everything that's in the God mod. But, people are very reductive about this. And so I just want to emphasize that bread is more than flour and water. And
so God mod is more than capacitors and shrink wrap. Got you. Point well taken. People, Thank you. The answer was given.
Thank you. So, we may get some repeating questions, but that's my answer is there.
Okay.
I've gone through 7 different versions of the God mod before making this one available for mass consumers. So I've really tried to make this as reliable of a product as possible. And that's because I care about riders. I have more riders on speed dial than any dealers or manufacturers. So, if it didn't work, I'll be hearing about it first.
So the last warrior said, please mention that the sticker boosts the power by 1,000 watts.
That's 1,000 per sticker. So right here, this is the power pack. This is the most power.
So you get a bunch of stickers, and then you're good. So if I put those all over my master, nobody can be able to beat me.
Exactly.
So Kamikaze Joe says, and as I beheld the glory of the revelation, the Lord did say unto me, they are just preaching nonsense. This is not a matter of convenience, but a matter of salvation. For the end is near, the judgment is upon you, and without you, you shall be left behind. Oh God.
Joey's
Oh
giving us some
Lord.
excellent sermons.
We had some weird people in here tonight. He said, "Troubleshoot Gaming said my
a
wife
varied
left me for Declan for coming out with GodMod." Oh man, Eli, what's up? Sparkle says I chant GodMod to myself in the back of my mind 30 times a day. Oh, okay. Brands BBW says, "What's up, Declan?" I'm not sure who that is. So, obviously you sparked some craziness in the chat here. Everybody's going nuts. I'm gonna skip some of this stuff because those are not questions. He's Jumpy Jiggle Snore said, "Is this a cult?"
So I'm happy to address that also, because I have not directed anyone who has the GodMod or has heard of the GodMod to talk about it in any particular kind of way. The only times I made any direct requests were I had two people who had bought it, and they reached out to me back when it was still only a rumor. And so I just asked them to tell someone else that they had bought it, and they were reacted to very harshly for sharing their experience, accused of promoting a placebo. And so, this has been sort of the community counter reaction to that accusation that, if it's fake and you have to believe in it, then we believe in it. And you don't have to believe in it for it to work.
Okay, now I get it. Why they're going so ham on it. This is the pushback. I got you.
Exactly. And it's all in good fun. I don't think anyone is really upset, because the people who have it enjoy it, and that's all that
the
matters.
point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No returns.
So E-Rider A says, I want new batteries and GodMod for my RS High Torque for my birthday.
That's great. Yeah, the high discharge, you get a similar effect with the high discharge, but it's not quite the same. So that's important, because people have said high discharge batteries like the 40T or the P42A cells can replicate the effect from GodMod, maybe even do it better. And so I've tried the two together. I've tried GodMod with every different type of battery we have in EUC. So 18650s, the old style, and then the few 21700s that we have. And what I found is that it does work. There's a stronger effect with a smaller size on those older and weaker cells. But with those high discharge, you still can cut off on a wheel with high discharge batteries. And so this is working in a different way to give you that instantaneous power burst that the cells still cannot support, even though they're rated for higher amps. So the difference, just to give an idea, the old school batteries might have been rated for, let's say, 90 amps or 45, but now it's 45. I'm sorry. It would be 90 amps for the whole wheel for like a 4P wheel like the RS. But now with the high discharge, you're doubling that number to 180 amps. That would be the safe rating. And so you would think that would be enough, because the motherboard's never really pulling more than 60 amps on that wheel or 90 on the EXN. So, I'm trying to speak in there's similar wheels to compare. And so with 60 or 90, you would think you don't need all that headroom. But what we've shown with the testing is that you can still cut off on those wheels. You do need that headroom regardless, and that the effect is pronounced and noticeable. So if you use those high discharge batteries, it's still good to incorporate a GodMod, maybe even several, if you're looking for that peak performance and buffer, the highest buffer you can have from a cutoff.
Okay, so
you should get both.
That is the real key. Then is that the GodMod, because it gives you more headroom.
Yes,
it prevents the cutout that would have happened without it.
Exactly. And so to speak a little more to the chemistry of that, batteries are an energy storage receptacle, and the GodMod is an energy delivery device. So it's giving you that energy in the exact moment that you need it without any hesitation. And the size of the GodMod dictates how much energy you have to work with, but it does recharge in a very in the moment while you're experiencing it, it can recharge and give you more power again. But a larger one being more effective, it's giving you power delivery, instantaneous power delivery, rather than the on-off effect from the battery. The battery is not able to push you as instantly as we need. When you're riding,
Right.
everything can happen in a split second. You need power delivery in a tenth of a second to ride over a bump or a pothole, and the batteries are just not designed to work in that way. There's a sine wave kind of effect, and maybe I can draw it for you, but it's an on-off sine wave, and so the GodMod is delivering flat power consistent the whole time. You can feel that the moment you get on the wheel, even at low speeds, you can feel the difference, that the wheel hesitates when you push on it. A stock EUC does not move the moment you push on it. It hesitates for maybe a tenth, maybe a quarter of a second. It's a breath, and torque wheels have less of that effect, but they do as well. A high torque wheel, like the RS C38 or even a Master, they have that brief hesitation when you push on it.
And that's from the power delivery not being instant. That's from the distance, the gap between the power request and the power delivery.
You've got it exactly right.
Okay, and then the GodMod, because it gives you that flat, constant power, when the wheel requests it, it is there to give it.
Exactly.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Here's the real question. Nothing else matters but this question right now. Okay?
Okay.
My Master P42A cells.
Yep.
That are the original one.
Oh. Yeah. Those are, yeah. It won't prevent defects from your hardware.
Okay.
It doesn't cure diseases.
Okay.
Those are the batteries with the nickel strip, the single, the weak spot.
Yes. I'm being told that I need to have somebody reinforce the nickel strips.
I've heard that as well.
And they're not.
I think it's the same person.
And they're in series instead of in parallel.
Yes.
So
all four. There's no redundancy in that system. So if you lose
it would
turn off.
But so if I got the nickel strips reinforced, and I got the GodMod, I'd be ready to go.
That's going to be the most competitive wheel for the rest of the year. At the racetrack.
Well, you know what's crazy is I don't want it to be competitive. I just want to save my life. I don't.
That's right. Well, there you go. It's perfect for that too.
Yeah, because I'll be honest. I've been riding the wheel, but I'm still scared. I talked to Roger, and you know Roger is the same way. He tells me this and that, and he's spitting out all these numbers and this and that, and I'm like, all I hear is I'm not safe. That's all I hear is I'm not safe.
Exactly.
So I need to reinforce the nickel strips. I got it. Mickey sent me somebody to go to, and somebody else sent me somebody. I haven't done it yet.
It's not a complicated upgrade, but it's something where you need you need to be familiar with the tools to do it, and you could, cause a very serious problem if you don't do it correctly. So
I don't know what I'm doing at all. I'm not. Not only do I not know what I'm doing, but I don't know what I'm doing. So
that's admirable. That's a great.
Yeah. So it's not something I'd be like, oh, I could probably no.
Right.
I'm not that guy. That's one of those things where I'm like, okay, take it to someone who knows what they're doing so I don't die, because that's the thing about our wheels. We love them so much, but we have to realize we have to respect them too.
That's right. It's not as refined of a system as we would hope that it is. And so you have to realize that there's much room for improvement, even if you're not interested in doing all those things. And so this is one of those things where spending the time can make the whole wheel safer. And just for the viewers at home who may not be familiar, this Irwin's wheel is the Master with the battery packs where there's no redundancy, and if one of them were to fail, then the whole wheel would cut off. And GodMod won't prevent that because that's a hardware issue. And the issue with the hardware is that they don't use enough metal in the battery to conduct all the electricity, so the metal itself can melt from getting too hot from normal riding.
And the other thing that I heard is that there's no way to switch that. So I can't switch it to be parallel. You basically got to buy all the new parts.
Right. Because the motherboard regulates the voltage. There's a voltage piece of the motherboard, and each pack is a lower voltage. So you would need to, redo the whole thing. So
I was
it's a
super
tough.
excited to get it, but I have been scared since. So
That's understandable. You should be scared of any wheel. It's honestly better to know the things to be scared of than to
mhm.
have to guess and figure it
Yeah,
out for yourself. So
yeah.
you and
No, I
I,
like
we're the
that.
same. We've had these wheel issues, and we're still in it, and we still have the love for the game, and that really
Yeah,
speaks volumes. I think.
yeah,
I know you've had random cutoffs. I've had
yep.
multiple random cutoffs. Wheelie Brady, he's also had multiple random
Yeah, you're
cutoffs,
like,
and
hold
and
up.
we're all
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
So
Well, you gotta,
it,
you
it
gotta, you gotta understand what happened. That's why I said you gotta respect the wheel
right.
because you gotta know
Yes.
why you cut out, and then
Hmm.
don't replicate it. So
Exactly.
the only one is my shoulder. I still can't raise
Yeah.
it higher than that, and it's that way
Oh,
forever. But
yeah.
I know that was in motion. I mean, not in motion. That was Begode.
Right.
Not I believe their motherboard was just the first gen motherboard, and they upgraded the
Yeah.
motor, they upgraded the
Yeah.
battery, but they didn't do anything
Right.
on, and it just couldn't handle it, and it
Yeah.
just was
That
just
makes sense.
gone. And
Hmm.
that's not something I could do. I could fix, but I could try to make
Right.
sure that I don't rush to be like, oh, give me the first one that you're testing, and I know you're not sure if
Yeah.
it's gonna work, but
Yeah. I
so
know.
I try
And it.
not to do that. I let other people test it first. Case in
Yeah.
point, we got over here. We got the V13 that I just got from Sean. Shouts out to eWheels for allowing this to come to me for testing purposes. And then on this side, we have the Sherman S, which which comes to me from Free Motion Shop, and with the Amped Electric Games team, and that's come for testing as well. But they've both been truly tested already and beat up and put through their paces, and I'm not the first one riding it. So I know that those two work. So when I got my Monster Pro, I was the first guy to ride it. I
Yeah.
rode it a little bit and then gone. I'm like, what happened? So again, try not to replicate that.
Yeah. I know. And
So,
yeah.
at
It.
least until they figure it out. Later on down the line,
Yeah.
they start figuring out what's good and bad with them. Then you can, order one. But when you're the first one up, the first one period, and it's a test wheel, and you don't know if
Yeah.
everything's gonna work, and scary. So
Absolutely. I've definitely gotten more hesitant from buying new wheels that just get released, but then also I've had the I've had great experiences with the OG Sherman. I got one of the very first ones that came out, and I'm
hmm
still loving mine. And that one's sort of the one counterexample. But then,
yeah,
the other counterexample is I got an EXN after it had been out for maybe 8 months or almost a year by that point, and that one gave me some very serious issues that I am not keen to ever experience again in my life. So,
you must have hit the ground hard.
yeah, I did, and
I
it
know the
was not
feeling.
fun.
Yeah,
And the worst part was sitting on the ground and knowing that I wasn't responsible, because I've cut off on purpose many times. I
yeah,
know
yeah,
how to replicate it, and this was not one of those times. It was just sort of, I was turning
yeah.
to the left, and yeah.
When
So
you do
it
something
sinks
that's
you. It sinks you
stupid,
here.
when you do
Mhm.
something stupid and you cut out, you're like, okay, I own that.
I'm happy to acknowledge it. It's like,
Yeah.
great. We're just, don't do that again.
Yeah. For instance, I was
Right.
doing,
Yep.
probably 30 miles an hour, maybe 35. Well, around 30, I think, when I was trying to pass someone on a 16X at
Oh boy.
at
Yeah.
30% power on
Oh
on a
no.
bridge where the bridge had these big gaps, so you gotta
Yeah.
jump the little bridge gaps.
Yep.
As
Yep.
so I'm jumping the bridge gap trying to pass somebody seated on a 16X with my big ass, and
On low battery.
the 16X said beep 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 beep.
Yeah.
I can't do no more.
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, don't do that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's a learning experience. You
Lesson
feel enriched
learned.
somehow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Spartacus asked, is it compatible with the OG Sherman? And you just answered that
Yes.
question because that's where you
Yep.
you still do your riding on.
I came in second place at the Broadway Bomb using it on my OG Sherman, and in the 2 previous years, I had ridden the Nikola and my Sherman without GodMod, and the pedals were dipping at high speeds, maybe 8 or 9 times during this 8 or 9 mile race. And this year, no dips whatsoever. I felt the wheel
Nice.
was very confident, powerful. I didn't have to stress it to do well. So
Nice.
it's some have said that it would not work in a large battery wheel. The GodMod might not work in a large battery wheel, but my experience has been that it works very, very well.
Okay. And
The
that
results
was
speak
my
for
next
them.
question.
Yeah.
Well, shouts out to Francisco. Francisco, what's up, buddy? Um,
Hey, Brennan.
And I'm sorry I'm not keeping up with the chat. They're putting so much in. I may miss you. I may miss you tonight, people. I'm sorry. But Declan's got some real information I'm trying to get out of him, trying to save me as well. Oh, Mono Wheel Melody said Declan is giving me wrong way vibes.
Oh, I hope that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, because
do we
with the
still like
with the
him?
glasses
I like
and
wrong way.
yeah, with the glasses and the facial hair, you
Yep.
do kind of.
Yep.
I see you, Melody. I see what you're saying. Let's see. So the question was, as far as oh, you know what? I want to change this. Hold on, let me change this. You said large capacity. Ooh, now that's bright. Large capacity batteries. So
Right.
you've done. What is the newest, biggest wheel that you've God modded?
The biggest battery has been the Commander and Monster Pro,
Mm-hmm.
but the newest wheel has been the Master.
Aha.
And
So
yeah.
was that did Roger have that? Sorry,
Roger actually got to try it out today on his Master with the largest ever high voltage God mod, but I had tested it locally in DC with someone who wanted a smaller one.
Okay.
And even the smaller one. So this is another example where people would say that a high voltage wheel doesn't need any extra power and it has everything it could get. But what we've shown, what I was able to observe for myself and the customer noticed also, is that even with the Master, even with the smallest size, the effect is noticeable. And it gives you that extra push, particularly down low, where you would think that a torque motor would have a lot of power at very low speeds. I was still able to dip the pedals from accelerating, but then after plugging it, we did a plug and unplug because it's external on that wheel. It's very easy to test with and without. And without the God mod, the wheel felt very little bit of weakness at low speeds, very minuscule, but I could dip the pedals just a slight bit. And then once I plugged it in, could not get it to dip at all. And this is someone else's wheel, so I can't, this isn't a comprehensive review. But
right,
at even high voltage wheels, the effect is noticeable. And so with that Monster Pro, even with the smallest size God mod, Mr. Suit was ecstatic that he was able to install it. And he's been a very strong advocate in telling me all the times that he's nearly cut off and the God mod saved him. And he's been saved by God mod many times.
So this is on the Monster Pro?
Yeah, well, several wheels, but including the Monster Pro.
Okay.
And so I myself have it on my own Sherman, the OG Sherman, with a 3,000 watt-hour battery, and I'm still able to feel the effect very noticeably with the smallest size, and then also with as many, the largest size and fitting as many as possible. I find there is an enhanced effect, and I have more power to work with. So if you have a small size God mod, you'll have that boost, that power surge, that it feels like limitless power. And so that limitless power runs out after some period of time, but it also recharges. So it's complex. It's not easy to describe when it's on, when it's off. But with a larger one, it's off for shorter intervals. It's harder to get it to run out. And that's really the difference. It's not so much about which wheel you have. It's really about which batteries you have.
Gotcha.
And even then, unless you have high discharge batteries, any wheel will have a very strong effect. And even those high discharge wheels with high discharge batteries, the 40Ts, P42As, cells, God mod is still the way to go because you can still cut off with those cells.
Right.
So it's just the sizing reflects on the amount of power you can work with. Right. And the recharge time is essentially the same for all of them. You're not waiting longer for a larger one to recharge, but the feeling of it running out, the wheel is still more powerful than it was previously, but it's not, it's hard to describe, but it doesn't suddenly cut off or dip on you. It just takes a moment to recharge, especially with that smaller one. But that's the use case for a small God mod would be a commuter who's concerned about hitting a bump while riding on the road. But a large God mod would be for someone who's looking for peak performance. They might be a racer, or they have those ambitions of a faster wheel. They don't want to upgrade and buy a very expensive new wheel. They just want to enhance what they have. And so God mod works with any wheel on the market, and it's just a matter of finding a place to put it.
Okay. So these are things that to, like you said, a beginner, someone who's just getting into it, trying to figure it all out. This is a lot of information to process. And
of course.
I'm glad that we're able to bring it to people.
Me too.
And I had a couple people suggest that I bring you on the show because they thought it would be advantageous and beneficial for tons of people, which I agree. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're able to explain this to people. Be here.
Yeah, I think about this all the time. So if someone wants to listen to me gabber about it, I jump at the opportunity.
All right.
It's gotten to the point. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's gotten to the point that
I talk about this all the time. I'm bringing it up at dinner and talking to my friends about it, and they're just saying, stop marketing. But then I stop talking about it, and all my friends are the people bringing it up. And it's tough to get a square on. So I'm just really happy to get it all in the open. Anyone, I've invited people to ask me the tough questions because I'm trying to be as transparent as possible.
And that's important.
I'm a rider. This is for riders. I want people to know, what it is, how it works, and why it's a good idea.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, from me personally, and I try not to speak for everybody, but for me personally, when I see the God mod and all that, and especially Willie Brady, I was like, I'm not doing all that. I'm like, I ain't doing all that, but knowing now what you said, number one, that the one he had was just a more advanced model that you're working on now, the God box.
Yeah, it was a rushed unit. Yeah. The God box is for race purposes.
Yes, that's the God box brought to you by Declan. That is a race setup. But knowing that I don't have to, because I was like, I am not carrying a box. That is not happening.
Think about, and that wire hanging is, a lot to deal with.
Well, I didn't want to do it when Panda was doing backpack batteries. Like, I said, you have fun with that. I ain't ever doing that. So same thing. I saw him holding the thing. I was like, I ain't ever doing that. So, but knowing that you can put some of them inside the wheel. And then you also, a lot of wheels. You also said that the master has to be outside. It's external.
That's right. Master, T4, basically all the new wheels.
So where were they mounting it? Were they just mounting it with Velcro on the side of it or something?
Yep. You can use it's similar to a side pad. You can put it in a lot of different places. They're pretty small. These pods that we have, they're about the size of a roll of quarters. Okay. So it's not too big, and you can get an extension if you need more wiring. But
so does that have to be? Does that have to be? That has to be wired to the board.
Yes. It comes with a connector, so you just plug it in, and you plug one side to your battery, and you plug. I'll use one that looks a little different. You plug one side to your battery. That would be the first plug. Then you would plug in the God mod, second. And then you would plug it to your motherboard third, and that's the full installation.
Okay, so I do have somebody in the chat that said something. I guess they got one that didn't have the right thing. They said, when I hooked up my God mod, there was only 2 positive wired, no negative wires.
Interesting.
So Adventures in Gold, did you get the setup that he just showed on camera? So he'll show it again here. Show that again, Declan.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of this has been a little bit of a personal challenge, but every wheel has different connectors. So this is a black and red connector. Both of the connectors come with their standard power connectors. Okay. XT60, XT90. There's MR60. I don't have those on hand, but there's a different form of the XT90 for the EX30 and the EX20 and the Kingsong.
But what he's saying, saying here,
if anyone has any issues, they can reach out to me directly on Telegram or Instagram, or on the email support@godmod.us, and I'm happy to work with you. And
support@godmod.us. So if you guys So Adventures in Gold, if you're having issues, and because it looks like the cables that he just showed looks pretty simple, but he said there's a couple different ones. So if you're having
Yep.
issues, reach out and we'll get that fixed. That's for sure.
Please. I don't want anyone to not
Oh,
have the ability to install it.
so
They want
Vibes, EC Vibes, he had a question. He said, "What is PMW?"
that's a PWM with the that's a complicated question that I probably don't have the best answer for it, but it's a calculation in the app that estimates the amount of energy that the wheel is spending to that the motherboard and the batteries are spending to push the motor. Where in theory 100% would be the maximum, but it has to be calibrated for your wheel. So if it's not calibrated, you could see numbers above 100%, which it doesn't really make sense. Strictly you wouldn't want to see that. But the way to explain it is that your wheel beeps at 80% PWM, and so that power warning is it reflects how much buffer you have left. And so in theory, GodMod would keep your PWM lower than where it was before. However, I don't really use it. I don't look at it, so I haven't made any claims about that because it's a measurement of the wheel riding experience. It's not something that is crucial to pay attention to. Something more important would be battery amps to make sure you're not drawing too much energy from your battery while riding. In theory, PWM could tell you if you're about to cut off. If you were sitting at 90% PWM, you would probably want to slow down, but it has to be calibrated.
Okay. So I have heard that a couple times, and that was pretty much the explanation that I heard of PWM before. Was they said just that. They said it's the amount of power draw. So if you're drawing too much, your wheel can't handle it, and you're gonna take the dirt dive. But if you keep that PWM low enough, then you don't have to worry about it. And in that same vein, what you're saying about GodMod is it's doing that. Is pretty much doing that. It's giving your wheel more. Your wheel's hungry. When you push on it, it's hungry, and you're feeding it. Yes. So the delivery is instant. So the PWM wouldn't be affected because it's getting what it wants. So it's being delivered. All the power that it's hungry for is being delivered to it. So that's what you're looking for. So I know that I need to make a GodMod upgrade, a nickel strip upgrade. Really, I guess I should just buy another damn master, but I don't have the money to do that right now.
Easier said than done.
Yeah. I'm just glad that I'm testing because I'm broke.
It's a luxury to have the newest premium wheels, and I've ridden both of those, and I enjoyed them both a lot. It would if I had to pick only one, it would be a tough
yes. Well, let me tell you, I guess right now this is preliminary, people. I can't give you my full opinion yet because I really, even though I've had the Sherman S for a week now, it snowed or rained almost every day, and it was 30 degrees. I was like, oh. And so, and it gets dark 45 minutes after I get home from work. So it was not the optimal time. And I'm trying to bob and weave. You guys saw the video where I lost my pad in the woods. I took that out the day one. As soon as I got it, I was like, okay. And I went running out, and everybody looked at me in my house. They're like, why are you going? It's cold. It's about to be, what are you doing? I was like, I gotta go. And I went through the woods. I had a blast. So I can't wait to ride it some more. But in riding the two of them, the Sherman S felt so manageable, and like I didn't realize how easy I could throw it around. But after after riding it a few times now, I feel so super comfortable on it. Then the V13, I only jumped on it when Sean passed it to me, and before he took the pedals off, he said, "Hey, try it." So I rode back and forth in the parking lot real quick, and I'm like, ooh. I'm anxious because I was able to put all my weight into the wheel. Normally when I'm on a wheel, I put weight into it, but not all my weight. And I don't really get into it because I'm afraid that I'm going to be too heavy and I'm going to cut out the wheel, give it a little too much. And I'm worried about that. I did not feel that way on the V13. Even for a brief second, I
Yep.
felt I could give it all my weight, and it was ready. It was ready, and I was like, oh
That's
boy.
that's definitely what I've heard, and it's funny that the wheel comes out at this point in time because I was very excited for the V13 as an EUC enthusiast, not
Mm-hmm.
someone who was going to buy one. Just glad that's the direction we're going, and the
Right.
reason is capacitors. So the V13 has the most capacitors on any stock wheel on the market, and that your feedback about it being very strong and not struggling from a heavier rider pushing on it harder has been consistent. That's what I heard in Toronto, is that this is
Mm-hmm.
the only wheel that they cannot get it to cut off, and they've been trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the same tech that GodMod incorporates, and that's why I think this wheel has been such a success. And
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to make every wheel as strong as the V13.
Okay, my mother-in-law's in here. She says she loves me. I love you too, mamita. So malcontent youth. So this is a better version of those capacitors they sell on EUCU, a smart
Yep.
version.
I'm not sure what the smart version is, but yes, this is a better version of that product. I'm not disparaging their product. I've seen their design, and mine is stronger, safer, and more reliable.
Okay. So Amber Rose says if anybody wants to see the God mod in action, I will be racing my EXN with it. Okay. Okay.
She just got God modded today. I am very excited for her. She needs it, let's say.
Okay.
She's gonna do very well with that power upgrade.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to. Amber Rose, see you in action. Oh, yeah. Francisco, you ready to see Amber Race? Okay. Melody says, where does the God mod attach to? At the connectors or at the charge port? Well, he already covered that. The God box.
Power plugs.
The God box would attach outside, but the God mod is internal. You connect.
It comes with all the wires you need. It plugs into the power plug, so it's part of the power delivery system on the wheel. It's in parallel to the batteries, so you just plug it.
And she also said, is this similar to what the Russians were selling a couple years back?
Everyone loves to talk about their product, and the thing is, I had never seen one in person, and that's really what had driven me to build something better, is that I had heard about it. Everyone had said it doesn't work, including the Russians themselves who sell it, describe it as a placebo for larger battery wheels. So I wasn't interested in going that route for myself, and I made the first God mod for my own wheel, and only spoke about it after testing it comprehensively. So
gotcha.
We get that topic a lot. That yes, someone has to make something before it can be improved upon.
Right.
And that's what happened here. I've improved the amount of power that we're working with. It's safer to install than their version, and it's more reliable, strong, safer components. I've seen their components, and I'm using higher quality components. That's about as specific as I want to be.
Okay.
But
right.
I'm not the type. People who know me know that I do not make frivolous claims. I don't say things unless I wholeheartedly believe it, and I'm passionate about this product because of how great it is. And that's what you're seeing in everyone who has it on their wheel, is that they have this same level of passion that you would expect only from the person who makes them, but that's how well it works. And people who have tested the Russian EUCU product and compared it to the God mod have said that it's anywhere from 15 to 25% stronger, and that's a noticeable effect. So there are different size God mods you can get, of course, but even the smallest has a noticeable effect, and it's been established that it's stronger and more reliable, that I haven't had any returns, haven't had to replace any, so it's just a more robust system. And I give credit where it's due. The Russians are consistently ahead of us on EUC upgrades and modifications, and that's why they knew about this years before it seems anyone here did.
Right.
But the reality is that I had heard from everyone in the community that this is something that does not work and will not work, and so I was keen to test it for myself. And it was unfortunate that I didn't try it sooner, and that's how I feel about it.
Well, shouts out to Willie Brady. He finally made it. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Brady? And Brady has been the most zealous tester of the God mod. He has been the first to have all of the largest and strongest God mods for race purposes, and he's really been pushing the threshold on establishing how much power can we get to these things before they cut off, and the answer is way more than we thought. Way more.
Okay. And Marco said GodMod unlocked the other 90% of my brain.
That's really how it feels. You feel like you're just floating on a cloud, like you had no idea. It's just that everyone's first ride with the GodMod is something a little different. Everyone remembers their first ride on their favorite wheel, and it's kind of the same thing, that you just feel unlocked, like your power has suddenly been you have access to all this power that you didn't even know was there, and you don't have to push hard to feel it. That's what's very important, is that it's not something for top speed riders. You can feel the effects at any speed, 0 to top speed. You can feel.
Well, this is see, that right there. What you just said is like absolutely perfect, because that's the thing that I was looking for. Because to me, like I said, I'm like, I don't need that. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't need that. Right, but knowing that it's for low speed, that instant takeoff speed, it's to give that instantaneous protection, and that's what we were worried about. How many wheels came out, and then they go to New York, they take them to Kung Fu, Kung Fu Tea, they grab a hold of the fence, and they go, let me see if I can cut it out. And most of the wheels can be cut out that way. So you're like, well, what the hell? If I can cut it out like that, how am I safe? I'm not safe.
It shakes your confidence. And that is the exact use case where you can feel the GodMod and test it on that kind of stress test. It performs, and those pedals, it's not impossible to get it to cut off, especially when it's at a stationary position, but it has so much more power that if you're small, it's very difficult to get the pedals to dip from being overpowered, from the motor being overpowered.
And the thing about that is most people may not understand the significance of that.
But, of course, I didn't understand what a cutoff was until I had over 5 of them.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when you can cut a wheel out not moving, and you're just like right there, and you're like, and you're like, wait.
Yep.
So, but your brain can't translate. You're like, well, so what does that mean? Like, should I turn this wheel off and walk home? I mean, what is
right?
So
right. I know.
You don't know. So now,
after
this conversation with you, I have a really good understanding of what the difference is and what the security that the GodMod adds. And I thank you for what you're doing, because what you're doing is, I believe you're saving skin. I believe you're saving injuries and hospital bills, and
that's my ambition. That's all I care about. That's the number one. The goal of the whole endeavor, goals 1 through 5, is to keep people from crashing. And so that's actually a great point. And I can give you an example of someone who told me that I did exactly that. Mr. Suit, he's agreed to let me play a voice memo of his, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
I can play a quick message he sent me to summarize how GodMod saves the rider. I just have to find it.
Mr. GodMod, I'm thinking my insurance should just pay you the hospital bills since they're not using it, because I should have busted my fucking face already. Thank you, man.
So that's Mr. Suit. He's been one of the strongest proponents of the value of GodMod from the beginning, and he tells me he's sent me these voice memos describing how he would 100% have fallen on his face were it not for GodMod, and that to me is it's the sweet song, because it tells me what I'm doing is important and people care.
Proof of concept right there, right? If nothing else,
it warms my heart.
It works. So I got one for you. Okay, I'm gonna play one too. Now that we're doing that, let's see here. Let me see. Can I get this to come up here? There we go. And okay, hold on. What I want to do though is bring you, drop him out, and then bring him back in. Okay. So Wheelie Brady, I know he's in here. We're gonna play your message. Oh wait, hold on. I muted it so it wouldn't play.
And this is in regards to the
GodMod
M10,
worked at the M10
the God
races
box.
when it was connected. The only time it didn't work was when I ripped it out. So like when I was accelerating and going forward and I was holding the God box in my hand, I would like lean too far out with my hand and it would disconnect because it was designed to disconnect easily. So it wouldn't fray the wires if they ripped apart, and then it would short the battery and everything. So from it disconnecting and connecting over and over again, it ended up shorting out the whole thing. So by the time we got to like the drag races, it wasn't even working or anything anymore. And that's how I could feel like when it was connected, it worked really, really well. I could ride it like it was an RS, and as long as that plug stayed plugged in, it was good. As soon as the plug came out, I knew it, and it just gave up. So that's how I know it works.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
That's how I know it works. So
Exactly.
there you go. So Wheelie Brady giving you a glowing review there because he knew it worked, and the fact that he's telling us that he could ride an M10
Yes.
like an RS.
RS
crazy.
high torque with mollicell batteries. Just so we're clear. Just so we're clear. That's his deal. That little stock M10 turned into a very powerful machine when the God box was functional, which shows that you really need as many God mods as you can get, and it's but if you're a racer. If you're the standard rider looking for this effect that everyone's talking about, even the smallest size will give that to you. It's just not the same. They're different tiers of performance. Not everyone needs that kind of power, but the safety margin is at play even at those smaller sizes.
So the safety margin is what we all need.
Exactly.
Now, right.
Exactly.
The top end, let's race and go crazy. That's
Right.
not. We don't all need that, but
That's right.
The bottom. Yeah. So Ronan said, I think these supposedly master issues are overly exaggerated. Riders love posting about issues instead of riding. He said, Marty mode off. Wow, Ronan, shots fired. What's up?
I totally agree with the sentiment that if you spend all your time in online spaces, you can frequently interact with people who claim to have this knowledge of riding, but it's not from a sincere place. And this is a product made by riders, made for riders, and it's important to keep that in mind, that it doesn't we don't have to see how it works on paper to know that it is effective and how strong the effect is.
Yeah. Look, I believe it, and I haven't even used it. Just because for me, and I'm not an easy believer. I'll tell you right now.
Of course, me too.
Yeah.
I didn't want to believe in it. I just couldn't believe it when I found it.
Yeah, you have to. I have to see and feel for me to really I'm the guy who's I'm super positive all the time, very positive. But
they're different things.
But when you bring something to me that I'm like,
Of course, especially you're plugging it into the wheel.
Yeah,
it involves the batteries. What is it? This thing in a case, and I don't know. So I would be the same, and that's why I want to make it less sketchy for everyone to not feel so unknown. That this is made by a rider. I have it in all of my wheels, and I am only this excited about it because of how well it works.
Well, you're doing good. You're doing a good job getting it out to
you.
people, and knowing that you did it behind the scenes, and you didn't just jump out and be like, I got the best thing ever. You have to do that. You tested and tested and tested. Yeah. So I have only the highest hopes that everybody will get on board, and that you do really well with this, because I think that you are giving us a safety buffer that we need. So
and people would say, why doesn't the wheel already have it? Surely they would have put it in there otherwise, right?
It should.
And so I mean, I had a wheel explode in my apartment because it was built to not insufficient standards. So
Mhm.
you know, if you were to ask me why, I would say it's a cost savings, it's complexity, it's a thing they don't have to worry about. So there's no
Because they
good
don't
reason
have
why
to.
it doesn't. Yeah,
That's
and the
exactly it.
VCT, exactly.
They can
So
make money, but they don't
yeah,
have to do it. So
they don't have to, and their understanding of our use case is different. They don't fully understand how we ride and what our needs are for the wheel.
plus, well, not plus, but also I can say now that they're starting to listen. And now
Yeah,
they're
definitely, definitely.
they can see where we're coming from. Begode
Right.
wouldn't even come to the table before, and now they're listening, they're talking, they're paying attention, they're making changes. So I have high hopes that at some point, excuse me, they will understand what you're talking about. And I personally, I hope some of them reach out to you and have you help them to incorporate what we need in these
I'm
wheels.
not holding my breath, but I'm happy to work with them.
Yeah, no, exactly. But that's the point. So, you know, so EUC Lucifer, thanks for the super sticker there, buddy. I appreciate that. Thank you. Shouts out to you. Thank you. E-Rider A, I am not putting that on the screen. Oh, okay. So, hey,
I already know.
Yeah. Drone for CCO says, "Hey Declan, my master is GodModded." Yeah, I got to get mine done.
I'm not sure who that is, but I'm glad. I think that's Han, so I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I honestly
have one on the East Coast.
I think I need to get my nickel strip. That's more important.
Definitely. Like I said, this won't prevent hardware failure. So if you unplug your batteries while riding, your wheel will still cut off. Even with it's not a magical device. It is just
it's not a red carpet. It's not a.
That's right.
I mean, not a red carpet, but a magical carpet ride. You get.
It just feels like it.
Francisco says I should be eligible for GodMod. Cut out at 50 miles an hour, broken collarbone, lacerated knee. Yeah, Mr. Tunnel cut out.
About that cutoff. That was in the cold, and that's another great example where
sag.
Yes, GodMod helps in the cold, because in cold weather, batteries are not able, particularly lithium-ion batteries, are not able to discharge nearly the same amount as when it's warm. And cold is anywhere below 50 Fahrenheit, and that would be maybe 10 Celsius for our Canadian brothers. And so below those temperatures, 50F or 10C, you're getting substantially reduced performance of your wheel.
Wow.
Where the GodMod gives you extra power to work with. The
Even at 50 degrees, huh?
40%. So if your wheel could normally push 90 amps, now it can only safely push 50 amps. And that's some napkin math, but with that, with that in mind, the GodMod gives you an extra power resource, which becomes even more important when you don't have enough to work with in the beginning. I'm not saying it perfectly. If you normally have enough, just barely enough in warm weather, then in the cold weather, you don't have enough at all for riding at high speeds on a larger person. The GodMod will bridge that gap in performance in cold weather.
Oh, I need it yesterday.
That's what I keep hearing. Every wheel could use it, even the slow wheels, even if you don't ride fast, even if you're only doing trails or jumps or sidewalk riding, it will help for anyone. I've cut off from riding the transition from the sidewalk to the street where it dips a little bit and you hit that on a slow wheel. So
wow.
Go with the cold weather, that's a perfect use case. And the GodMod itself is also impacted by the cold, but less than the batteries. So
gotcha.
You're still substantially improving the system in that cold riding weather. And again, cold is not nearly as cold as we would. You could be riding in a t-shirt and it's still too cold for your batteries.
Oh, man.
And too cold, the wheel will still turn on. It will still spin to top speed, but it's the power delivery. You will feel much more of that hesitation, and then with the GodMod, that hesitation will be reduced. And I will say, cold riding is better than cold charging. Just a little bit of battery safety tips here. So if you're riding in the cold, that's much more. The tolerance for that is much better, where you can ride all the way down to 0F or negative 25C, but charging is only down to 0C or 32F. So
Oh, so do not charge lower than okay. My right
Do not
now,
charge in the cold, everyone.
right
It's
now my
not.
wheels to my Master and my Monster Pro are out in the garage, and it's super
Yeah.
cold. It's cold out there, and I thought
Mhm.
that because someone else told me that. I said I can't plug them in out here. I'm gonna bring them inside,
Right.
let them warm up, and
Exactly.
then charge them up.
If you're
Okay.
cold, they're cold. So you come back from a ride and you're shivering, and you have to realize your wheel's shivering too, and you have to give it an hour to warm up. And it's okay to store it in the garage. That's fine for cold storage, but you wouldn't want to plug it in if
Right.
it's sitting next to snow.
Gotcha. So Chris, Turbo,
Turbo's
Lewinsky,
another enjoyer of
Turbo's
the
in the
God.
house,
Welcome.
and Turbo says Dr. Declan's in the house.
Best glasses.
we got and shouts out to the Spectacle Brigade. We both
Glasses
got
gang.
our
Wear your
spectacle.
glasses if you need
that's-
them. I'm gonna take my own advice.
That's right, glasses gang right here. I decided to wear mine today only because he was wearing his, so I figured what the hell. So shouts out to Ash EUC. What's up? See you in here.
Welcome.
Try to say what's up to those that I didn't say what's up to already.
And
How
Ash
much?
gave us- Oh, go ahead.
How much to have him install and for a customer?
So I have only been doing friends and family installs. It's very simple to install. If you have anyone local to you who's worked on wheels, they can certainly do it, even if it's their first time. If you want to bring me your wheel, I will give you a free installation. But you have to find me. I don't know what else to say.
It sounds like he's gonna be elusive, ladies and gentlemen. It sounds like. So I do want to pause real quick and say, everybody, do me a favor. Right now, it says there's 85 people watching. Please go ahead and hit the like button, people. Just hit it. Let's go. Make it happen. Make it happen.
Like and subscribe, everyone.
That's right.
Thanks for being here.
And push it out there because right here is definitely the show where we come together. So make sure everybody knows about it. Those who don't.
I've been a fan of the show. I appreciate how you've been bringing the community together and handling difficult topics. So I was excited when I was invited to be on the show, and I am really glad to be here. It's a great show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's only great because our community is great. That's for sure. I really enjoy doing this. And now I have something else to look forward to. I really enjoy being one of the voices behind Amped Electric Games now as well. Being on the Amp team, myself and Seth Johnson and Nick, Big Boy Fast Boy. We also have Corey. Corey's in the house. Wheelie Dope.
Hey, Nick,
yeah, and David has just joined the crew, and I think I may have seen him in here. Duck, is it? I don't know if I saw Duck in here, but he's in here as well. But your AMP team we're planning on bringing you a lot, people. And just as a side note, while I'm on it, I'll digress for just a second. The AMP team has stepped up the game huge. We have the gear that we're putting together so that you guys can have the live streams that you deserve. It's really a lot, and we're planning to bring those not just the equipment, but also the ramps and bags and all the mini games and everything. We're planning to bring that to all the different events. I will be in Vegas at Eastgate Con with the team. All of us will be there. I will be late to the Shred Fest, but I should be there the last day, and maybe half the other day. It depends on how fast my flight can get there because I'll be tied up and I'll be trying to make it. But the rest of the team will be there, and they'll be making it happen without me until I get there. And we are definitely doing like big things in our community because of you, because you guys have shown that if we bring you together, if we reach out to you, you guys will show up. You guys will come.
And maybe a year ago it wouldn't have been, but now is the right time. And I'm so glad you mentioned Amped Electric Games. I have incredible admiration for Seth and everything he's doing, the team that he's assembled, the work that they've done to make amazing events for the UC community. Now's the time, and he's trying to do it the right way. So nothing but love for Seth and everyone on the Amped Electric Games team.
That's right. Shouts out to Amp, baby. So I hope everyone's gonna be at Amped Electric Games this year, September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I hope everyone's gonna be there. And if you're in,
I will be.
yeah, that's
God
fantastic.
modded.
God modded up, baby. Now
I hope-
I'm gonna test the God mod because the week before that, the Wheel Life Rally will be here. So I know not everybody can make it to both parts. It seems like every year something else is around that time, but this is the week before. So if you can make it up here to Southwick, dirt. If you are good in off-road and you like to race off-road, we race through the woods. We race. It's a dirt bike track here, and the Wheel Life Rally is one of the toughest races off-road that you'll have, and it's a lot of fun.
I heard about it.
Yeah,
it's great that you have that event that you're hosting, and I definitely admire it. I was unfortunate that I couldn't make it last year. I had wanted to, but then circumstances didn't work out, and so I definitely would like to make it out. And I heard great things about it from the people who raced last year. Yeah,
I hope that I hope you're able to make it. I know that because it's 1 week before. It might be tough for people. I understand that, but I know that we're going to have more people than we had last year. And every year it gets bigger. And now that the AMP team is part of the collaboration and they're part of my we're all in a team together, they'll be there as well. All the gear will be headed towards the AMP Electric Games. So we may not have the bags and all that gear, but the personnel will be there. We'll be able to give the attention that it deserves. And this year it's going to be 2 days. So it's Saturday and Sunday, the weekend before. So it's awesome. It's going to be amazing. So I hope you guys can all attend. So enough about that. We're gonna scoot down here. Oh my goodness, we got a lot of comments that I missed. Okay,
let me tell you about the M10 games because everyone was very excited, and this is an Amped Electric Games event, and I hear they're looking to do more in the future, and I think that's going to be very, very popular. So with this M10 games, I knew that I had to. So Willie Brady came to me about a week before and said, "I'm going to this event, but I don't have a wheel, and I'm going to have to try and find one." And I said, great, it's going to be a God-modded M10, and it's actually going to be my M10, and I'm going to have to ship it express overnight across the country to get it to the race in time. And, that's what we're going to be doing. And so I was able to open the wheel, fix the flat tire that it had, and install the connector to allow it to accept the God box. And that's the reason I'm not trying to promote it to anyone else to go with this route, is that you have to drill a hole in your shell to have that external wire, whereas in most of the time you don't. And so I had to build the entire box, because I had the first one had an issue and I wasn't able to diagnose and repair it in time. It was actually faster to build another box than to just fix the first one I had made and just to absorb the loss, take the L, save it, and maybe use it later. But I was scrambling that whole week to build this thing I had never made before in my life, ultimately three times. And so the first one had a failure, and it was due to just the wiring had shorted inside, and that showed what the failure case is, that essentially it doesn't technically have a fuse, but it's built in such a way that the wiring acts as a fuse and it will melt in a very short period of time. It's not allowing a short circuit in the system for more than 3 to 5 seconds. Okay. So there was progress from this failure, as there is with any, but I was still rushing because this race was happening 3,000 miles away. And so I managed to, I was sitting there late at night thinking, do I rip this thing apart and try and fix it or make a new one? And I looked at the calendar and I saw I had to get it out in another day. And so I decided, okay, I'll just make it again. And I did exactly that, made another one, tested it. And I was so confident in the wheel working that I had felt the first box that I made, but then it failed. I made a second box and I did not even test it before shipping it. I just shipped it out because it needed to go that quickly. We didn't have any time. And so for my own wheel, building the fastest upgrade I've ever made, I didn't even ride it myself. I just shipped it out as fast as possible. And I just want that to reflect on how passionate I am about the project, how positively certain I am of how well it works, that I didn't need to feel it I knew what I had built. I had felt the smaller ones,
Wow.
and I shipped it out as fast as I could. And so as a rider who started and made this just for myself and was maybe never going to sell any ever, I finally made the strongest one in existence, and I didn't even get to experience it first. And I'm happy because we won the race.
Yeah. Look, he was doing the damn thing on that wheel. I was like,
Definitely.
okay.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't own an M10. He had 12 hours of experience on a borrowed M10. He doesn't own that wheel. He looked like a natural riding it forwards and backwards.
He
and
did.
Sideways and backways, but it's not his wheel. He's not familiar with it. He had about 2 hours to practice it on Will's wheel. Shout out to Zweems for loaning his wheel. But
wow.
He made it look like a natural, and that just speaks to how much power it has. He could ride it like his RS, and just it's going to just keep working. It's just not going to drop you.
And that's the key. That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
So I am very happy hearing all this. I haven't experienced it yet, but I'll tell you, after these conversations, I'm excited, and there's nothing more positive than the excitement you feel when there's something new, like these wheels behind me, just knowing that they were coming out and then knowing they were coming here. I'm like, ooh, something new.
To have the latest and greatest is something that every EUC rider can understand and appreciate. And so in the same way,
feeling that about your GodMod.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I'm feeling that about the GodMod. I'm feeling, man, I'm excited about riding wheels with this in it to give me that extra little safety margin.
Every wheel into the V13.
Yeah.
It's essentially in the same way that electric unicycles are on the cutting edge of transportation. The GodMod is on the cutting edge of electric unicycles. Mm-hmm. So we're on the cutting edge of the cutting edge, and I'm trying to make it available to everyone who rides. I'm not trying to keep this for myself. I'm not trying to keep it just as a luxury product that no one can afford. I want this to go in every wheel for anyone who wants it. I mean, I haven't forced it on anyone. I'm making it available to everyone.
You will put it in your wheel.
And that's how people will talk to me. They're like, they're saying, I have to prove to them something, prove that it works. Tell me why I have to have it. And I'm telling people, if all the naysayers were to buy it at the same time, I wouldn't have enough in stock. So I'm not on a mission to convert anyone. I just make them as safe as I can and let the results speak for themselves.
Well, I mean, that's the best way to deal with things, Just do what you can do, and don't be trying to force. We ain't trying to force it down nobody's throat. You don't want it?
Never.
Oh, okay. Don't get it.
The way I've gotten the word out has been through demo days. So I'll be doing more demo days this year. I had a demo day in Toronto. I'll be doing one in New York, in DC, hopefully Miami, maybe Boston. And just letting people try it out for themselves, feel it.
Oh.
I don't tell people what it does or how it works before they ride it. So they may have heard of it by now, but there have been many riders who, in a single blind test, so a single blind test
instead of a double blind,
the rider does not know, but the tester, that would be me, giving them the wheel, I would know. And the only thing I tell them is try my wheel. I don't even call it a GodMod wheel. I just try it out. So they know there may be something is different. But the fact that everyone has the same description of the effect means that it's a real effect. Mm-hmm. No one has said it doesn't work. No one has described the effect inaccurately.
Right.
It does not apply to braking, which is another common question. Does it affect braking? So no one has described stronger braking, and that's because it doesn't affect the braking. Right. So in the placebo camp, where you would expect people might attribute additional features or behavior, no one has done that. No one has described things it does not do. They've only described it perfectly accurate at demo days across the East Coast. And in Toronto, there were a lot of vocal skeptics up until the demo day where people got to try it out for themselves and feel the effect and understand the difference.
Well, let me ask you this. What are you doing Saturday? Are you busy? He's like, wait, why? Wait, why? Okay. Only because I'm having a demo, these two wheels, and
that's very exciting.
It's going to be brief. I'm doing 2 hours from 11 to 1. I'll be in Boston. on this Saturday. So anybody else wanted to join this Saturday in Boston.
V13 Sherman has 2 excellent wheels to try. Yep. I myself wouldn't be able to make it. I still have a medical.
Okay.
I had a surgery. I'm still recovering from riding related, but we don't have to go into all of that.
No.
But,
I guess what I need a God modded wheel.
Yes.
So if somebody else has a God modded wheel and can make it to the demo,
maybe Zoe up in there. He's been very.
Oh, Zoe's coming. He's coming. So cool.
There you go. So hopefully he brings it. We'll see.
Yeah. But, so that's good. So yeah, I'm doing 11 to 1 in Boston, and then I'm coming back to Springfield here, and I'll be here because it'll take me a couple hours to get back. So we'll do 3 to 5 here in Springfield. So I'm hoping to at least have 20, 30 people ride these wheels, and
you have to feel it to understand how they're different, because I was the same seeing it online. You know, what could be so good, but the V13 has the power and the Sherman S has the comfort and still has quite a bit of power. Mm-hmm. So definitely something you have to see for yourself. It's much stronger. The Sherman S is stronger than the Max in acceleration. Definitely.
Oh, you guys heard that? Oh, he said the Sherman S is stronger than the Max for acceleration. Oh, okay.
And I've heard the top speed is good too, but that I didn't try for myself.
Okay, do you know about that?
Say again? I'm sorry.
Do you know about the what the hell? No, I just lost it. I just had a senior moment. What did you just mention?
Okay. Yeah, riding the Sherman S at higher speeds.
Oh, yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
The higher speed, when they said how they unlocked the higher speed was questionable because it was like maybe a software thing or something or whatever. Right. And they said it's not legitimately supposed to go that fast, and they did something to make it able to go that fast, and then they were worried about it. Some people were worried about it. Do you know anything about that? That's off topic, I know. I was just wondering.
No, I've been studying everything in this domain and trying to get my hands on it, and so I could guess at what they're doing, but I don't know what they're doing. If they're concerned about the components, I'm hesitant to give advice on that kind of thing. We've seen that manufacturers are willing to exceed the limits of these components to get people to buy the device. So I will say it's a very quick wheel. I think I was riding it in that faster mode, so there's definitely something noticeable to be had there. But is it safe? I'm so hesitant to comment on that.
Well, I'm riding it in that mode. Well, unless they changed it back, I'm riding it in that mode, and I have not had an issue. But then again, I've just been cruising. I think the fastest I've gone is like 40, 44, 42, 44.
Yeah, and that wheel is very happy at those speeds. Right around 40 is that cruising spot. It seems that
it's comfortable. That's like you feel at home right in there.
Yeah, and it's Sherman was really the first wheel to bring that to the market, where 40 wasn't some fairy tale that we talked about and said I hit 40 in Canada. Well, now you can actually cruise at 40, and then in the past 2 years we've gotten the speeds have gone up, but the reliability has gone down, and that is much to my dismay.
Yes, much to all of our dismay.
Yeah.
So Mickey's in the house. EVX, shouts out to Mickey.
Welcome.
Mickey's over here pushing gyrocycles.
I know. I have mixed feelings on the term. I think it's
too.
nice to do new things, but we have a term that people are familiar with, but it sounds kind of silly. So I don't know. Be the change you want to see in the world. Mickey is always living that truth, and
He is. Yeah. Shouts out to Mickey. There are. Okay, so we lost a few. Now we're down to 72 people, but I'm sure they'll watch.
To talk about plenty more to tell you. We can talk about AVS. Where we had.
We haven't even got there yet. Big Boy Fast Boy's in the house. What's going on, Nick? My buddy there, part of the AMP team as well. At AVS. That was the comment. Somebody in here said that. They said that Roger was God modded.
No, absolutely not.
There we go.
GodMod for the first time today. He did customize his own wheel to improve the power and performance, and I
Yep.
have immense respect, and I'm looking to learn from his techniques. But in terms of GodMod, Brady and Turbo were the only two people who had it.
Ah, see? So just so you guys understand that, just so you know, Roger was not God modded when he got the fastest time at AVS.
That's right. That's right. So to see what he can do now, he's really the one to establish what can it do in terms of track performance and lap times.
Yep.
Because he set the standard at AVS.
So Stan asks, has V used the God mod? I don't believe so. Has she?
No, I've really wanted to work with her and talk to her about it. The last time I saw her in person, I just didn't get to bring it up, and I felt like I let everyone down because she's really great. I have nothing but love for V. She's been in the community for a long time and really has passion for EUCs and riders in the community. And so, yeah, I'd love to work with her on this, and there's no good reason that she hasn't gotten it yet. Just
okay. Mickey just said something. He said it erases soft mode. So he said it should. He said it shouldn't be standard.
Being controversial. You know, I'm happy to touch on this point because New York has some strong proponents of soft mode, and I myself am not a soft mode rider. So when people would ask me, I don't have the perfect rider perspective, but people have explained it to me, and I tried it for myself. So it does. Erasure of soft mode is a bit extreme. It limits. It reduces the plush feeling that you would describe from the pedals dipping forwards over bumps, but the trade-off is that you are having the wheel move more responsibly over those bumps, thereby lessening the feeling of hitting them in the first place. And so the other way I would explain it is that people gravitate towards soft mode to cushion the ride over uneven surfaces, and that's the same thing you're getting from GodMod. It's just the sensation while you're riding is not identical. So you will notice that, but in general, riders who are passionate about soft mode keep it after using GodMod. After they've installed GodMod, they continue to use soft mode, and they say that the wheel is better off. And that's come from Sumako in San Diego, who told me about this and said, my explanation is perfectly accurate, that the wheel would normally dip, let's say, this far forwards, and then instead with GodMod, it dips a little bit in soft mode. But while it's dipping, you're still getting that continuous power and the responsiveness that you would expect. So you're really getting the best of both worlds.
Ha! Booyah!
and we're going to have Chris Yim trying it out soon. He's the loudest proponent of soft mode. He's made some great explanations on rider technique and the value of soft mode and using your heel-toe, shifting your weight between your heel and your toe, and how that can improve your balance and your maneuverability. Mm-hmm. So Chulander had tried it. He's also very loud proponent of soft mode. And so he said exactly as I'm saying, that it reduces that dip, the amount that it dips, but the trade-off is responsiveness, and the maneuverability that you get from the pedals dipping is not lost. You still maintain that maneuverability that you would get from soft mode. So
there you go, Mickey.
It changes the experience, which is what you want, and it doesn't change the programming on the wheel in any way whatsoever. So the wheel is still running exactly the way it was programmed to. It just
has more power delivered to it.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Okay, a couple of things here. So Francis Sigmund, or Francois Sigmund, I'm not sure how you say your name, buddy.
Oh, yes.
But he said, Erwin, this won't prevent people go to the hospital. Declan claims
that's right,
that wheels can't cut out anymore, which only enables people to ride with more risk. Well,
so I'd love to clarify this too, because I'm not trying to make misleading claims. Only the God box is a device that can prevent cutoffs, or if you're to significantly upgrade to alter your wheel in such a way that it can accommodate multiple God mods, then yes, you can have a wheel where it has so much power all the way up to top speed that you can't exceed the limits of the motor with a regular rider. And that doesn't mean that if you go above the top speed, it will be safe. It's not safe. You still have to respect the same exact specs of the wheel. The wheel goes just as fast as it did before. You're just operating with an additional margin of safety and power. It can get to that speed a little bit faster, but you cannot go above. On an MSX, it's rated for 45. Maybe the Master 50, we don't know, but I wouldn't
55,
recommend riding
55.
above 50 on the Master, even with GodMod. You know, it's very fast, and the wheels they're not there yet. So, it's a mischaracterization of what of what I'm saying about the device to say that no wheel will cut off ever.
Yeah.
Of course, the physics are the same. You're just working with a greater resource of power. And so with the smallest GodMod, of course, the wheel could still cut off. It could still cut off, but you're getting that reactiveness and you're getting that additional safety margin that is still noticeable and tangible. You can feel it the second you get onto the wheel and ride it. And so I'm not saying that GodMod entirely prevents cutoffs. What I'm saying is that numerous riders have told me after the fact they would have cut off if they did not have it. And
so,
those are different claims.
Yes.
I'm not claiming an absolute. I'm claiming
Yeah.
it helps, not that it removes something.
And I was about to say the same thing. So Declan and I were jokingly going back and forth. And yes, I said, man, this could save a lot of people. You gotta, and I still mean that, but
yes, it will save
I also said that you have to respect the wheel.
Yes.
I also said that you guys got to look at the fact that we're still riding a machine that is balancing on one wheel. So there are still limits. No matter what we do, there's still going to be limits. However, what he has done here, what he has worked on, what he has perfected, and what he is pushing out is something that gives you what we should have out of the box automatically. Yes. The power delivery that will sustain the wheel in what it's already like the wheel's already designed in a way that it's supposed to do this. The GodMod just allows the wheel to do what it's supposed to do. It's not that it's going to make it infallible. It's not that you can't push it beyond. It just it's bringing the wheels to the level they're supposed to be at and giving you that extra energy and boost that it needs to keep the wheel doing what it's supposed to do. That don't mean you can't push past it. That does not.
And I promise you, people have tried. They add the GodMod and they say, all right, top speed, here we go. And you know what? That for those people, I'm happy. I embrace them, and I want to make the best product for that use case. And then everyone else gets the best version as well.
Right. So he got the God box, and he's trying to help you guys out who want to do that breakneck speed. But but for the rest of us, what I don't want is the inadvertent cutout. Like you said, when you don't realize that it's only 35 degrees out, so you got sag on your battery. Francisco, I'm talking to you. You got sag on your battery, and you don't really realize it, so you don't realize that your battery is going to perform less than it would. So this gives you more energy to kind of put you closer to where you're supposed to be. And then when you're riding and like me, when I only had 30% battery left and I went over a bump and the wheel was doing more than it could, well, this could bridge the gap so the wheel wouldn't fail on me in that instance. Because I wasn't destroying it and like crushing the wheel. I was barely doing more than the wheel could do. And it was just because when it went over the bump, it asked for instant energy and the battery couldn't give it to it fast enough. So
if it was appropriate, it was the bump that you hit. And that's another great point, is that the GodMod helps with riding at low batteries. So you can sustain the normal speeds you expect down to a lower battery level with the same safety margin that you would hope for.
There you go. See this? Look, I'm a newbie to GodMod, but I'm speaking it what?
You totally get it. You fully grasp it, and
that's the thing. Once you give it to me,
yes,
I can get it, but I need you to really give it to me, and that's why another reason why I was excited to have you on the show, because when people try to tell me and they're not like the ones that designed it and the one that really pushed, I'm like, I know, you got to really explain it to me, and you can't give it to me on paper. No. I'm this guy. You got to talk to me. Tell me the specs. Give me what's what, and then I'm on board. So I get it. And again, we're not saying the wheel's infallible and you can't cut out. Just saying it gives you what the wheel's supposed to be able to do. You just still have to ride like a responsible person.
Yes. I am a huge proponent of responsible riding. Respect the wheel. Respect your own limits.
Yep.
Respect the road conditions and
the
weather. If it's windy, that's another element to margin that the wind saps some power. And so again, the GodMod doesn't stop the wind, and no one's claimed that. But it's one of those things.
Well, I think if you put GodMod stickers, it'll stop the wind.
Only enough. Only if you have enough.
So Seth said people ride soft mode. I'm with you, Seth.
I love this. Is, I think, one of those things. It's going to be a rare moment where the community comes together and agrees that it's just an upgrade. There's not good and bad, or why should, with pads, we're all over the place. Should I get these pads or those pads or no pads? Pedals the same, spike pedals, no spikes, glass grip tape, no grip tape whatsoever, no spikes, just metal. So this is going to be one of those rare moments where everyone comes together and says, yes, you don't have to get GodMod, but it is a thing that you should get.
yes, yeah. And I think the consensus will quickly swing to that direction.
Nobody's forcing anyone's hand. I've been trying to get this in as many people's hands as possible for them to feel it with these demo days, because I realize it's been an idea that's been in the public domain for a while, and people have discussed it and sort of just tossed it on the side as something that doesn't work. And so when I picked it up, I knew that I couldn't talk about it in the same way that we had been, because it would immediately be dismissed as not functional. That the community had decided that this one word doesn't work, and so we're going to give it a new name and make it better than it has been, and that's what's happened. And so I've been accused of excessively marketing the idea, but this was maybe an idea that needed some marketing, because there was no one talking about it. Everyone who did would say things that are negative, and the reality is I haven't embellished the use case whatsoever.
No, you haven't.
I'm only talking about it in literal terms.
Yeah, no, I don't think you've gone too far. I think that the issue is, well, you're in New York. Once they grab a hold of it, the community is just crazy. So I don't think it ain't just you doing it.
It's sort of a victim of its own success, where people have heard of it, but they've never seen it. So they want to understand the whole picture before they get the chance to have all the pieces. Right. And that's where the problem lies, I think. And it's been very interesting. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, Nick said, I heard in motion, God modded the V13 after that cutout video surfaced before release. Now, strung like bull. Yeah, look, look, in that, to me, lets you know that they know what they could do.
Right.
They're just not doing it, because
we could have had this the whole time. We could have had this since the very first wheel came out, 7 years ago. It's not something that, and that's part of the it's not new technology that I'm proposing. This is something that's been tested in the wheels. It's just not so widespread as much as I would hope that it can be. Yeah.
Well, I think that this is like so enlightening right now. Like the clouds have been lifted. I'm like, ooh. I'm like super excited to try it. So I really hope Zoe has his wheel. What wheel does he have GodMod? Do you remember which one
Nicola.
He was rocking?
I'm pretty sure the Nicola.
Oh dang.
Oh, that's not the one for you.
I'm just not I've never been a huge fan. It's too low to the ground
it's very
for me.
Polarizing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot.
It's not the best at anything. It's just good enough at everything. That's in my opinion.
Yeah, that kind of does it.
Yeah, but it benefits greatly, and it has a lot of room for GodMods. So it's a great candidate if you have a Nicola. That I've probably put the most GodMods in Nicolas by this point, just because it's the easiest and most people will have it. So it's a great candidate, even if you have the big battery version.
Well, Mickey said, anyone else feel like Brady looks like Jason Sudeikis?
He has that very intense racer energy. I remember Jason Sudeikis was in that prison racing movie, and I feel that energy from Brady too. Brady has had access to the highest level of performance with GodMod, and that's because I firsthand watched him cut off on purpose and then have a smiling face for the rest of the day. And
craziness.
That to me said, this is the guy who needs it. This is the guy. And so there's a few people in my life that I've rushed the GodMod to get it to them first.
Yeah.
But Brady has been the one who will take a wheel and push it as hard as possible. And when I gave him that EXN at AVS at Apple Valley Speedway, we built this EXN, and I told him this wheel won't cut off. It goes up to the same top speed, but it won't cut off all the way up to that point. And the way I knew that is that we had Molicel P42 batteries, which discharge for that wheel. We had 4P, so it's 180 amps, which is double what the wheel could request. The wheel would request 90. We had a battery that could do 180, and then we were adding more GodMods than any other wheel had by that point. Comparable to the God box, it would be about 2/3 of a God box, but all inside the wheel. And so what that did is it made the wheel so powerful that it was able to chase master Begode 134 volt masters on the straightaways, and those wheels also had P42 batteries.
Yep.
So Brady had the fastest time for 100 volt. He came in the first position for the 100 volt category, but they grouped everything together, and so he was able to be competitive on the straightaways. And then there's full credit to Brady because that track is all turns. So he took this wheel that we made and utilized it to its fullest potential, and that's why he's been this voice on the topic, is that he's just had access to the highest level of performance. So when people hear him talking about it, he's not just some guy who's guessing. He's pushed it as hard as possible, harder than I have, because he's had access to it. And so
and he didn't
he's
know
the man to listen to on how it works at the top end. And,
he was
one last point to
Go ahead.
address that no cutoff concern. His description of the behavior is that at the very top end, when you're pushing on that wheel above 45, 48, all the way up to 50, and I know the wheel says 55, so you got to account for that 9%. That's a little nerd tip there for you. But so at a real world of 50, the pedals don't dip. They move. He said it's like a rubber band that's stretched to its limit. It'll just dip a little bit forwards and come back. Just a little bit forwards and come back. And when it does that, the motor is grunting and vibrating, where you could keep pushing on it harder. It just doesn't really move anymore. And that's the limitation of the 100 volt system. But what we've shown is that you don't need to buy a higher voltage wheel. You just need to add GodMod, maybe high discharge batteries too, to whatever you currently have. And that's easier said than done for the batteries, which costs the price of a new wheel. But GodMod is way less, 10% of the new wheel. So AVS was the first example of GodMod being tested at the highest level, and we got 4th place. And that was an immense success for the design, and it proved that you need as many GodMods as you can get, because we haven't found the upper limit. And so that might be the upper limit for that wheel, but the next step is for high voltage. So that was a 100 volt EXN, and now we'll do a master at 134 volts with hopefully a similar size GodMod, which should be that'll be the wheel to beat, I think.
Okay, well,
even with these faster wheels,
I'm not gonna race it. I'm not going to race it, but I'm going to have that setup.
Any size will be appropriate for a safety margin, but then for that biggest and baddest, we're saving that for anyone who's trying to push it at the track. And hopefully with this box, it'll be modular. So anyone who's a GodMod racer will have access to this box to plug it into their wheel and go
give it to Brady, give it to Roger.
Exactly. Nick in DC, another very strong racer. He's a prime candidate for a wheel that doesn't cut off. But most wheels with the GodMod still are normal wheels, and so I'm not promoting this box to everyone. I'm just saying that with sufficient GodMods, you can have access to the type of wheel that doesn't cut off. Not that your specific wheel will be so powerful you can push it beyond any reasonable margin.
I want my Nikola. My Nikola should beat the Master. That's period. Put enough stickers and some GodMods in it, I can beat a Master. That's it.
So I'm really not trying to mislead anybody, and it's a valid point that I don't want to encourage more dangerous riding with this upgrade. I want people to respect the same margins of the wheel and have an additional safety buffer to work with while enjoying the experience more. It makes the ride more fun. You don't have to go faster. It's just more enjoyable to be on a wheel that's more responsive. And so you can take a very big wheel like the Monster Pro and add that low-end responsiveness, and then suddenly it feels like a Nikola. It feels like an M10. And
that was the drawback to the Monster Pro, was the low end. it was
Exactly.
it was
And the
nervous.
same with the OG Sherman. And
Yep.
so this is where it fills in that gap
Yep.
and helps quite a bit.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm supposed to be selling my my Monster Pro,
Oh, yep.
but
It's
if I got modded, I don't know because it looks.
I know, I've heard
Because
that
right
too,
now
that
it
people
looks
are like,
better. My wheel looks
Yes.
amazing, so I'm like,
that sticker, if it's if the sticker is showing you what's on the inside, then it's a mighty fine sticker.
So Nick, Big Boy Fast Boy, he said, did Declan ever consider naming his device the flux capacitor before GodMod?
So the name is actually a great topic because the whole device, the GodMod itself, is a community-driven effort. I don't pretend to own every single element to it, and so the name itself comes from another writer in DC. The logo comes from a different writer in DC. So the name comes from Nadia, and it's funny, she came up with the name because she's a much more chill writer. She's not in that, emergency GodMod group, but she's still excited about the idea and would have one in her wheel as well, even being a chill writer, because it gives that buffer. So the name comes from someone else, Nadia, and the logo comes from Landy. Shout out to Landy, who he's another safety rider, but he has been enjoying his GodMod quite a bit in the Commander High Speed and MSP, and he drew up the logo, and he's made some variations on the logo now. So we're going to have there's a lot of different stickers that are coming out. The Good Mood sticker has been the highly requested one. So it's the same logo with Good Mood written inside. And it's really fitting because, it's GodMod puts you in a good mood. And
Yeah, I like it. I like
it's one
it.
of those things. So the whole product and the design that goes with it has been a community-driven effort. And so shout out to the whole community. There's been nothing but love on this idea and trying to make it as best as possible. So shout out to Landy and Nadia for the name.
The same guy he said these claims are completely absurd, guys. It's the same guy, Frank Sigmund.
He's not keen to accept it. And so I'd love to talk about this topic too, because the EUC community, every region, every chat online or every forum has the gatekeepers, the people who decide what's real and what's not real. And so for a period of time, the term GodMod had actually been completely banned from the Facebook group for electricunicycle.org because they were using the old school thinking of capacitors don't do anything. So anytime someone said, I installed GodMod and it works great, they would just delete the post. And then people were contacting me and saying, Declan, you have to do something. Your posts are getting removed. And I said, I'm not on Facebook. Why do I care? Yeah, and that's sort of how I've dealt with it, is that there are gatekeepers who decide what's allowed in their group, and that's totally fine, and they're allowed to have that judgment, but I don't feel compelled to convince any singular person of something that's real. I don't need to tell you the sky is blue. It is. So it's the same thing with the gatekeepers. It's strange how someone like myself, who has been in the community a long time, cares about riders. I have more riders on speed dial than people who sell wheels, yet I'm brought such harsh criticism and skepticism. The skepticism I admire and appreciate because we should all be skeptical of everything in life. But the criticism and the harsh tone, the accusations of being a scammer that have been pervasive for a long period of time, they hit deep, and it gets to you. And it's hard because I'm just focused on making this as great as possible. People tell me I need to test it in whatever arbitrary way they've decided, when the reality is I have tested it in the ways that matter. I've tested it for safety. I've tested it for longevity. I've tested it for effectiveness. So which design is more powerful, and so on. And I've done the things that matter to riders, but the concerns that I've gotten are things from people who are intentionally argumentative because they enjoy the endeavor of bickering and coming up with needless arguments that aren't based in science or reality. They're just frivolous claims about whatever's relevant at the time. It's one of those things where people are very uncomfortable with something new, and they themselves have to decide that it's okay before they will allow it to be in their space, which is very strange because you have this group chat with hundreds of people, and let's say a dozen of them all love the product, but you don't understand it, so therefore it's fake. It's kind of a strange phenomenon in human behavior, and it's something I've run into in a lot of contexts. And so I tried to explain it to people, as I've done here, what it does, how it works. But there are these two numbers that are written on inside, and people are very keen on knowing those exact two numbers. And so I'm not looking to share them for proprietary protection, that this is a product I'm making. And if, people think that those two numbers are enough to make their own, but the reality is you need experience with soldering and hardware and all these different factors that come into play, where you can't just take two numbers and make your own God mod. And that's the same thing. It's not just calling it capacitors is overly reductive. You need the safety features. You need to ensure the system is robust, because it's not going in a computer on the shelf. It's going in a vehicle on the road that crashes all the time. So the God mod is built for that standard. And I've watched, Nick from DC ride it through underwater and crash his wheel with it. And so it lives up to those kinds of abuse, where I'm not claiming, I'm sort of losing my train of thought here. It's very strange how people get so guarded to this idea that they're not familiar with, and they don't, they address it with such criticism. There's no open-mindedness. That's what.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this, Declan, because I can see how strong it affects you. But
definitely.
I got some stuff that I didn't get to in the comments yet, because I'm just
to
getting to it now,
back.
and it's some of it is some of this negative stuff. So first of all,
I lead head first into it. So bring it on.
the Enemist asked, does GodMod work on one wheels?
Yes, I'm so happy you asked. That's my next step. I'm going to be working with a DC rider. I've tested it on the one wheel pint, and the effect was described as comparable to an extra battery, but it's a tenth of the size, half the weight. It's much less of a footprint. You could actually put it inside the one wheel, so you don't need anything on top. So I will be working with one wheels, and you can send me an email if you are looking to get on the list to be one of the first one wheels. But it does work. It does the same thing. It works just as well, and it's going to be the next step. I'm one guy,
Sounds
so
good.
it's been a lot to. I love electric unicycles. I don't own a one wheel, and I never have, but I love one wheel riders, and so very excited to add this to one wheels.
Okay, so I guess Mickey obviously is listening in the comments. He said this is starting to sound like snake oil.
I've heard that too.
And I don't know who the pastor is. He said even the pastor doesn't believe it.
Who doesn't?
I'm just gonna.
Oh, right.
I'm putting up a couple.
That's another great point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then somebody's. I don't know. I guess somebody put up something now. I know that and maybe it's here that I haven't seen. DJ says because nobody wants to talk about negatives, just bandwagon, which is not the case at all. Okay, right. Mickey asks, what about the guy that cut out on the God mod? He went to the hospital. I'm not sure which guy that is.
Was that me? That was probably me. Yeah, I'm okay. That was a mechanical defect. So as we've said previously, the God mod does not cure your electric unicycle from any hardware issues it may have pre-existing. So I had my EXN with hardware issues, and it cut off, and I went to the hospital, and look, it had God mod in it at the time. But I don't consider that, the first cutoff with God mod, because I didn't overpower the motor. It just failed. And, maybe that's controversial, but I can feel the difference because I've been riding for over 4 years and, countless miles, over a dozen wheels. And so I don't know who that might have been, but I think that was me because I did go to that hospital multiple times in multiple cities. So shout out to Bentonville Hospital and shout out to Montreal.
Oh, wait. The shoulder, right?
Yep. So I actually raced. Yes, and so that's another great point. I raced at Amped Electric Games, the first annual event in Arkansas, with a shoulder injury, and it had gotten worse while I was there. But I was at a point where I was able to race competitively, but did not overpower my wheel once. Where I was in a position where if I crashed, I knew I would have to go to the emergency room. So I did not want to crash at all, and that's not usually my perspective. I usually can handle hitting the ground, especially if I'm in the wearing the right equipment and it's in a closed course. But my wheel didn't dip once during Amped Games, and I had the standard God mod that most people are getting. I just had the regular size. So that was that was the first competitive event for God mod, and it worked perfectly. And I wasn't too vocal about it because it was still very new. I couldn't meet the demand that I'm having, and I'm still struggling to meet demand, but I've gotten in a much better position to make enough.
Okay, so the wheel worked as you wanted it to, and
Yes.
so what happened with the crash?
So at Amped Games,
Yep.
that was not on the EXN, that was on my MCM5, also with GodMod, but that was not a cutoff, that was a pedal clip. So at Amped Games, I had fallen because I clipped my pedals while riding on a berm. I unfortunately did not adjust the cutoff angle of the wheel, so I was trying to ride at a very, very upright.
Yep.
and perpendicular, and so I clipped the pedal onto the dirt, and it just sort of ate into the ground, and I fell very hard at 15, which is like that sweet spot for a tough, where you really get all the force onto your arm. So I hit the ground with my hand, and that just sort of pushed my shoulder out of the socket.
Yeah.
Very, very painful.
You're making me relive it. Yeah.
And it was crazy. People were asking me about it, and I was already back riding when people were telling me, "Oh, we heard you got
You were
to the hospital."
What a sling
so
on and still riding.
Travels in our community so quickly that I can be out of the emergency room, and people are still asking me as if it just happened. And it's funny how that works.
Well,
but,
you were funny because I couldn't believe you had the sling on.
Yep.
And you were back out there. I was like,
we got out of the emergency room. We went back to the Airbnb, and no one was there. So I looked at Fran, who was driving me, and we said, "No one's here. Where are they? Let's just go back." And then I started riding. Just got back to riding and kept it chill for the first day to let it recover. And I missed an event, unfortunately, but the wheel did perfectly at Amped Games, and that was really the first competitive test of the device. But I wasn't too vocal about it at that point, again, just because I wasn't ready for anyone to be asking me for their own, to get one for themselves. But now I'm in a position where it's open to the public. Anyone can place their order today if they'd like to, but no pressure.
Okay, all right.
It's godmod.us, but going back
it'll
to
be
the EXN,
it'll be in the description below after the video. I'll put it in there so you guys, anybody who's rewatching or going back to watch, you can always go there, godmod.us, to buy yours if you want.
Even if you found it before I intended, you should go back because I've changed the site a little bit, gotten rid of some filler text that people were keen to point out, and yes, it's a more finalized site now. And I'm still making changes. I'm going to add a lot of information, but it's a fully functional site.
So Frank Hoyce again says, Declan, you've been offered an evaluation by a professional electronics engineer. How's it going?
Yeah, I know. I'm offered a lot of things, right? But
DJ said, Frank Hoyce, you want to pay for the lab equipment?
Yeah. So some people, everyone has their own version of a test that will prove that the idea works in their mind. But the thing is that any test can be argued with. And if you're arguing from a bad position where you're intent on disagreeing, then there's no test that's going to convince you because you can find a fault with any measurement whatsoever. The device, the EUC, is very complicated because you can't measure it under load without a rider being in the picture. And a rider can give inconsistent inputs, which would make the test unreliable because you're not repeating the same method. And it's very difficult to replicate a test on an EUC to perfection. So anywhere in there, you can just argue about the numbers. I have tried. Amber, shout out to Amber, she's helping me out by doing a before and after measurement with all the voltage readings and the sag, and she pushes the wheel very hard, so it'll be a good use case and a good example of a rider. But I'm not keen to take these specific measurements of numbers that matter to other people. If I don't understand the numbers enough, I'm not in a position where I'm going to do this test and then give you the numbers to evaluate for me. And that's not me being afraid of what the numbers are. I just couldn't argue with you if you said that the numbers show that the device doesn't work when everyone who's used it does. It doesn't matter if on paper you can't understand it. Anyone who's tried it can feel it, even if they were not previously biased about the effects.
So doing that blind test, like you said, the single blind test is like a good
tests.
way when you give the wheel that, and especially if you give that wheel that someone's ridden before.
Exactly.
Like someone who has an EXN or they have a Sherman, and you say, oh, you know what? Hey, try mine. And they go, whoa.
That's what we've done.
It feels different.
Exactly.
And that's when you know that, it works. So So Frank Coyce also says capacitors doesn't give extra power. That's entirely false.
Yeah, he's very fixated on the exact terminology being perfect, and this is another engineer's kind of a problem where they're so fixated on the exact words being perfectly precise that you miss the bigger picture that the wheel moves your body more effectively than it did before. Whatever you want to call that is fine. You're moving your physical corporeal being at a higher rate of acceleration. It's what do you can call it anything you want to. And this is why I didn't call the device capacitor mod, because everyone knows capacitors don't work, but when they tried GodMod, it works. So, you know, with these blind tests that I've done, I had a rider who had a lot of experience on the Sherman test my wheel that has an identical tire, identical pedals, and the same similar firmware, and he was able to feel the difference immediately. And the effect is described as taking a high-speed wheel and making it feel like a high-torque wheel, but you're not losing any of the speed. So a Sherman becomes a Shermax, an MSP high-speed, RS high-speed becomes an RS high-torque. And a Commander high-speed would have the acceleration of a high-torque Commander, but again, that same top speed that you're expecting. Not more, but the same.
So these are like... What kills me about this is you can feel the negative energy coming off of these comments. Now I'm putting them up, Frank Coyce. I'm putting up your comments because I feel like I want to make sure people know that there's no hiding here.
Not flowers and roses for this idea. I've had to wade through the murkiness of the community, and it's been very revealing to see that someone can come with the best of intentions and be judged so harshly when I'm just trying to make everyone safer and enjoy riding more.
Yeah.
And
so
I'm not the kind of person who go ahead.
He's saying that claims of solving cold cells limitations is complete nonsense.
It's an upgrade in a nonsense. So nonsense is just it's a judgment, and that's fine. Everyone has their own opinion. That's totally fine. But the reality is that I haven't solved physics. I haven't changed the system at its fundamentals. I have enhanced it by giving an upgrade and adding something. It's a purely additive upgrade. You don't take anything away. You add something. And what that means is that you're not losing anything by having it. You're only bolstering the power of the system. You're making it more effective at propelling your body.
And that's the key.
It does what it's supposed to do better. That was the perfect.
I haven't heard you say anything that is astronomically impossible. I haven't heard you say anything that makes this seem like this is the end all be all and everybody ever riding a wheel better have this. I guess one of the things I'm good at usually, and I'm not always right because people have disappointed me, but I'm a pretty good judge of character. And another reason why I like talking to people and getting a vibe from people is I already had a good vibe from you at Amped Electric Games. Likewise. I already felt a good, and then I wanted to hear how you explain this, and hearing you explain it makes sense to me. And knowing that other people that I respect and other people that I care about have tried it and have the same types of feelings that you do. Seeing Wheelie Brady, who I think is an amazing human. I love Wheelie. And seeing him have that same drive towards this, I'm sold. So anybody, not saying that it's an end all be all, not saying that it's the thing that's going to answer everyone's problems. It doesn't turn your wheel into a magic carpet, but it makes your wheel better. I never said that. Right. It makes your wheel better, period.
Yes, it does what it's supposed to do better. And what is better? Well, we talked about it. And is better too vague? Okay. So, you start listing individual use cases, and then it sounds like it does too many things. How could it do all of those things? But the reality is that we just are defining riding in a backwards kind of way. So we're saying it makes riding better, and then you're just trying to define what is riding. And then it becomes this sort of, people get frustrated because it's so vague, but the answer is that it applies to any kind of rider because it works on the wheel at every speed.
Okay, so two more things. Number one, someone
Sure.
just said,
Yep.
"Always be careful in the cold." Yes, yes,
Of
yes,
course.
yes.
Absolutely.
So that
Yeah.
goes back. That goes back to what we were saying.
Right.
It doesn't make the EUC infallible. You still have to be careful and respect it. So
Yes.
that's a big thing.
And
And
yeah.
the other thing
Go
I wanted to ask you, because I wasn't sure if this was a thing. You know how they talk about regenerative braking on
Yeah.
EUC? Does
Mhm.
GodMod participate in that regenerative braking?
It's in the system. It does not make the braking stronger. It does absorb a little bit of that energy, but it's not. Um,
No,
it's
not that
tied
it
to that system, but it
not that
doesn't.
it
It doesn't
makes
have
it
any residual
better.
effect.
Not that the God mod makes the braking better. I'm saying
Right.
Is the God mod recharged by the braking with the
Yes.
regenerative braking? Okay. That's what I
Definitely.
was
Yep.
asking. Yeah. I
Yep.
wanted to
Yep.
make sure that's a thing because I know you said it recharges,
Right. Right.
and so I'm sure that's helping. So yes to that
Absolutely. If you're
question.
pushing hard and then you brake a little bit and then keep going, it'll be recharged. You would feel it kick in again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And so I can speak a little bit about my background and just who I am and
Go
how I
for
came
it.
to this, because that I think that'll address some of the
Yeah, because we didn't get
skepticism,
there.
because
We skipped that.
I
Sorry. Go
know, and
for
I'm, it's
it.
I don't like to brag about my credentials. It speaks for itself. But when people don't know, maybe we should explain it, right? And I'm someone who's ridden electric unicycles now for 4.5 years. I've been riding all different kinds of vehicles my whole life, over 23 years, and I have a love for the game. I have intense passion for riding, and I'm looking for always the best thing to ride. And I've always said, if you want to ride the best, you have to build the best. And what that means is when you buy something, it's made for the mass market. But if you want peak performance, you have to find that for yourself and figure out what that means and how to get there. And that's what I've done here. So all the way back to my first electric unicycle, 4.5 years ago, I had an Airwheel X8. It went 11 miles per hour, and I had a cutoff within the first week going down this hill because I didn't realize you can't go above the top speed. And so the wheel cut off, it dipped, it rolled down the hill, and I jumped off, and that was the end of it. And I didn't even understand what had happened. A lot of riders have this experience, even with faster wheels. So I can think of
Right.
people who bought an OG Sherman as their first wheel, and they ride it the same way. They ride it until they feel the wheels dip, the pedals dip, and the wheel turns off. And so the fact is that our needs for the EUC are greater than what is out there in terms of performance. I had that myself by having cutoffs throughout my entire riding career. I've cut off at basically every speed you can go. My fastest being 42 miles per hour, but I've cut off at 1 mile per hour, 8, 10, 24, 28, all the way up to 42. And that 42 was exceeding the limits of the motor. That was an 84 volt MSX, and so that wheel isn't supposed to go that fast. I just wanted to, and I remember how I felt that day going out and thinking, I'm gonna see what this thing can do. And I didn't want to hit the ground. I just wanted to feel the power and feel it do what it's supposed to do. And that was a transition moment for me in riding, because it gave me that respect that crashing usually does. You respect the wheel, you respect the ground, and you don't seek it so intensely, because
No.
a cutoff is something you want to avoid in your entire life. Never have
Yep.
any of them. It's not a good thing. Every time you walk away from one, it's a blessing, because anything can happen. And
Yep.
I had so many for myself. I was looking for the next thing to prevent cutoffs, to make it harder to exceed the limits of the wheel. And so I found this for myself. And then once I realized how well it works and how accessible it is, that you can fit it in any wheel, or fit it, you can accommodate any wheel with it, I realized that people need this. And so that was after many cutoffs myself. I fixed it and realized, okay, how do I get this to other people? And I had a time where I thought about making a demo video, DIY GodMod, make your own and add it to your wheel. And maybe that's the way we go. But the thing is that it's not easy to make these, and most people are not interested in doing it. So by just merely giving away two numbers to let people make their own, I would be doing a disservice. And the only
Right.
way to get this in people's hands is to make it appealing, that people who are skeptical of the idea, who say capacitors don't work, they're doing not just a disservice to themselves, but a disservice to the entire riding community, because they are actively discouraging us from using safety upgrades. Improving our wheels and making them safer is being actively discouraged online, and it's there's so many words to describe it. It definitely affects me, and I'm glad you can tell, because this is something I want for people, that they should have the safest wheel for their use case. Nobody should have a wheel that's constantly tilting back and beeping. And that's what I'm trying to do, is that any wheel can be more powerful. You just need an upgrade to do it. And, if I were to say that everyone could make their own, and I'm not selling any of them, most people wouldn't do it. It maybe no one would do it. And I know one or two people who want to do it themselves, and, I support them, and I hope it works out for them. But there's a lot of factors you have to consider when you're working with a lithium ion battery, because they're very dangerous. And I've seen that firsthand. And that's why I care so much about it, is because, it's very close to my heart and, my own well-being, and that I've cut off numerous times. I know a bunch of people who've cut off numerous times. And if I can prevent that from happening, that would be really great, because nobody wants to go to the hospital.
No, nobody does. And
so that's where I'm coming from. Go ahead.
Especially the shoulder injuries.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Anybody that's had one, you don't have to be going fast.
Right.
I was barely moving, but all your body weight coming down on your shoulder or any body part is no bueno. It's scary. Your gear cannot protect you from your own body weight. That's the scary part.
Right. And I know. And that's why I'm a huge proponent of just wearing the most gear you can tolerate, because it definitely helps. But then there are those weird moments where, especially at lower speeds, you get much more of an impact to the ground rather than sliding, and it's just tough. But I'm hesitant to tell people to ride faster to be safer, but I have found a lot of people say that.
I've
slide it out, it feels better.
Yeah, I've said that to people, and they think I'm crazy, and they're like, "You say that after the injury you had?" And I'm like, yeah, but if I was moving faster, I would not have this injury. My body weight would not have centered and came down like a ton of bricks. It would have spread out and been dissipated over the pavement, and I would have been fine. But not everybody can see that or knows that,
And so, to wrap up my writing, my personal resume, the people who know me know that I'm not someone who deals in fake things, in pseudoscience or placebos or snake oil, whatever you want to call it. I'm not that guy. I don't deal in non-entities. I only dabble in what's real, tangible, what you can observe, and I deal in reality. I'm an honest person. People know that about me. And so with this product, like I said before, I kept it under the hood for a while, testing it for myself, making sure it does everything I think it does. And when I tested the first one, I had done the side-by-side. I took my RS, rode it all day, put it in the RS, and then rode it again at night. And so I was really doing the side-by-side. And I have a lot of miles on wheels. I know exactly how the wheel can change, or I should say, I can detect a very small difference in the wheel just from the butt dyno, from the feeling. Your foot, you can feel it. So I kept this secret for 1,000 miles, and then brought it to a few people to test it, to make sure that I wasn't the only one who could tell. And when they agreed it works the same way that I thought, that's when I started making it a broader concept that's available for other people. I tested it myself, then I tested with 2 to 3 other riders, and then I tested with a 5 to 10 pool of riders. And I've done batches of GodMods. And again, I've enhanced the design 7 different times, changing the components, changing the materials, changing the size. I've changed every factor to get it as perfect as possible.
Well, so, all your testing is appreciated, definitely, because
thank you.
It's something that I know I wouldn't probably have done the testing that you.
Yeah, it was terrifying. I took it to the park thinking I'm gonna crash on my face. that first ride was the scariest ride of my life. It was this just you plug this thing in, you've barely heard of it, maybe it works, and you're self balancing. I mean,
Scary.
Definitely.
So shouts out to everybody in the chat. There has been some super chats that I didn't get to. I put them up on the screen briefly, but thank you very much, everybody, for donating. And once again, everybody, please go ahead and hit the like button. Definitely.
Right there.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's important because what we're doing here is new still. we are very young in the game when it comes to
Yes.
the world of YouTube and connecting people. And I know we
It's so
have a
important.
few of us that, have large followings or whatever, but it's still a drop in the bucket. We're so
Definitely.
small in the game out there. We don't have millions of followers, so we need to help promote what we're doing. So please make sure you hit the like button, make sure you share the video, make sure you talk about these things and bring people into the fold. The AMP team, we're on a race to 100K. We're trying to get 100,000 riders signed up and listed so we can show those 100,000 riders. We want people to see us as real. And right now they don't, because we're small potatoes, and we need to get bigger. We need to stick together, and we need to promote each other and help each other and grab the next person by their bootstraps and pull them up and try to make sure that we all, as they say, a rising tide, raises all
Lifts all
boats.
boats.
So we want all of us to be lifted up. So let's do that together. Hit that like button. Guys, I mean, if you have questions, I want you to bring the questions. I definitely want you guys to bring the questions, but bring the energy too, the positive energy. And remember that we're all doing this. We're doing this crazy thing that we love so much.
The only people it makes sense to are the other people doing it. So we should be kind to each other.
Yes.
And skepticism is a valuable thing, and I'm not frowning on skepticism. I'm wholeheartedly embracing it.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate the way you've been answering the questions honestly, and not hiding or shrugging, taking them head on and face forward. And that's the key. And I hear some of what you're saying about the two numbers and I hear you like,
I know. People really want those numbers.
Yeah, I know. I feel you, and I know exactly what you're saying, what's going on there. But, it is what it is. But Amped 2023 people, September 1st through the 3rd, please make your way back out to Bentonville. I'm going to say it again. Wheel Life rallies the week before. And if you can make it here as well. These are more events for us to come together and keep trying to grow. We want to grow. And some people are like, well, I don't know if I want it to get any bigger. And I do. I want.
Yeah.
And why? You know why? Because the joy that I feel on my wheel has to be shared.
Yes.
That's the simple bottom line. The joy I feel on my wheel has to be shared. And I think that we all should share it. So, and Mickey, you're a nut job. He just gets in there. He just wants to stir stuff up. He does it on purpose. So I'm glad you're able to share your history and share what you've done. Does anybody else have a question that was not answered tonight? Because I think he answered exactly. I know he answered what I was looking for, and I think I was the most curious because I had no idea how this works.
You're not alone. It's gotten so popular without a good explanation because people are so excited to talk about it, but not so many people have tried it. Because it takes some time to install. It's not as easy as putting a sticker. So the stickers are more popular than the mod, which is a great thing. People should hear about it.
Yeah, it's definitely.
So please, if you have any other questions, happy to answer. I'd love to. I know we talked a little bit about the dark side of the community, but I want to talk about the light and the positivity because there's so much of that, and that's really why I've stayed around so long. And stayed in the community, community rides. So I mentioned I had that battery fire. It's okay.
Sorry,
I mentioned no, adorable. So I had that battery fire. I had to move out of my apartment, and I lost basically everything I owned except for my wheels. I'm still here, but the point of that was the community response was overwhelmingly positive in the support that I had after the fact. Many friends and peers and people I had never met before came out. I wanted to show you just a list of all the, this is half. I'm not sure if it's easy to see, but there's tons of kind words that people had said. And I'm not showing the money because it's not about the money. This is just support from people in the community who heard about me having something very bad happen, this random thing. And so just lots of kind words and support came. People were willing to give me clothing, appliances, a new couch,
Nice.
a desk, chairs. I mean, I lost everything, and I had everything replaced by the community. And to list everyone here, I mean, I'll give them all a shout out. Shout out to Landy, to Robert, to Pierre, to James, Jimmy, Chris, Pevra, Jesse. I mean, there were dozens of people who were supporting me in all different ways. VT helped me a lot. I know he's a controversial figure, but he helped me tremendously in the recovery after the fire and replacing my furniture. So
nice.
I'm immensely grateful to the people in this community because of the positivity that's there. The love that we all have for this shared activity brings us together. So many different backgrounds join the community and make it better and more robust, and different perspectives coming together makes us all enriched. And that's really what I've seen, is that I certainly don't agree with everyone I ride with, but I'm glad to know them and have them as friends.
That's good. That's nice. I appreciate.
So,
I'm sure they appreciate it. It's nice to hear the good sentiment. I'm all about the goodness and the positivity.
That's what I look. You have to look for the helpers. That's a phrase that I've heard. And so about on that topic of helpers, I wanted to speak about Joel Deort. He's someone very close to my heart, even though I only knew him for a very short period of time, and just explain that Joel fully embodied. So Joel is no longer with us. He passed, but he fully embodied this culture, this energy of sharing knowledge, passionately speaking about intellectual ideas to anyone who wanted to listen. He was never demeaning or condescending, even though he always knew more than you about that topic. He had experience as a writer and as a hardware engineer, so he was working to unlock the Sherman firmware and sort of understand all the differences, because every version of the firmware changed certain elements, and he was trying to give people the ability to flash their wheel to whatever firmware you would want. And so the entire GodMod project is dedicated to Joel, and that's nominally because he was such a tremendous inspiration to me. And so I wanted to bring him up because he's, it's important to speak on his legacy and the ideals that he brought. And those ideals are just compassion, sharing knowledge, open-mindedness, and humility. So, I'm not sure if we give a moment of silence, but I just wanted everyone to know that Joel from New York, from Queens, is the full inspiration to GodMod. He helped me get over that fear of working on my wheel. He really brought it to the next level for me, because he helped me with my Sherman. I had loaned him the wheel to work on his project, and so he helped me upgrade it and make it more waterproof, the motherboard. And it was something that I was terrified of doing myself, but he explained the procedure. He even did it for me, even though it was so easy to just apply a nail polish to the motherboard after discharging it. I still asked him to do it because I was scared, and he was the kind of person who went that extra step and would do something, even if it was easy, just to make me comfortable and show that it's possible. That's so nice. Everyone should take a book from Joel's page. And I only knew Joel for 6 months, but he had a tremendous impact on me, and I know a lot of other people in the community. And so he really shows the light that we all can find in ourselves.
That's beautiful. Beautiful sentiment. Beautiful sentiment. I thank you for that. Not sure that an applause is
I know it's there's no. It's like he's left a strong memory, and we bask in his memory. It's hard to talk about these kinds of things, but there's no one. I've only heard good things said about him, and I feel exactly the same. And he truly inspired everything I'm doing. So I credit where it's due, even if he's not around.
Okay. And how did he pass?
He passed while riding. The circumstances are not entirely known, but he had been visiting Hawaii and picked up a wheel there and ultimately perished under the wheels of a car.
Okay. And I was just trying to see if there was something that we that we needed or could know that we didn't know. But I get you.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that there's much we can benefit from the community from learning or growing. And I get what you're asking about, but it's unclear what happened, and that's part of what makes it so hard on everyone is that we didn't get a satisfying answer. We got, you know, the news telling us, oh, some guy on this thing we never heard of is now dead, and it's you know, they were a bit. The handling was okay. They weren't disrespectful, but you know, it was very much, there was no investigation. It seemed it was sort of at face value that he was here, he's not, and that's where it ends. And so
wow, that's
I mean, there's not much to say. There's not really anything we can grow and benefit as a community. It's just a tragic loss. And you know, all I can say is everyone should wear as much protective. You should wear a helmet and knee pads and wrist guards all the time. Probably more, but you know,
at least
start with
that.
a helmet. Yeah. That's what I would say.
Well, I appreciate you showing your vulnerability and
of course,
letting us know where this comes from, because not everybody is comfortable showing that. And I'm glad that the community was able to reach out to you and help get you back on your feet when all that happened.
It was overwhelming. I definitely did not expect any of that, and it had far surpassed my expectations. Yeah,
no, the community can do that. When my shoulder was, I was down and out, and same thing, and people came together, and that just brought a smile to my face, and the joy, because you don't feel alone. You know, because a lot of what we do when we're riding out there by ourselves, you do kind of feel alone because we're on an island. Nobody understands us but us. So we're on that island. So when we reach out to each other and come together in times of need and pain and suffering, it really means something, because it shows that we're not alone. And that sense of belongingness that we all need and we all crave, whether we know it or not, it is there. Right. It is inherent in our very being. And we answer that feeling and that call for that belongingness by reaching out to each other and letting each other know that, you know, you're not alone and we are together and we understand each other. So I am grateful to this community, and I will continue to be. So I thank you for sharing and being vulnerable there to let them know how much it means to you. So that was nice.
Absolutely. And we, you know, there's local groups, and, you know, I ride with this group and not this group, and people have friends. Not everyone has to be friends with each other, but we are one community. There's no subgroup of here. Nope. I ride here, so I only know these people. It's EUC riders. That's one thing. Gyrocycle, if you prefer, but we're one people. You know, it's this thing that brings us together. And we have to be more sensitive about it. That no one else sees it this way. Everyone else sees us as the other, the different ones, and so there's nothing wrong with being different, but we shouldn't be dividing within our incredibly tiny group.
Definitely. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I remember you speaking about that at AMP Games, and that really warmed my heart. And it gave me a very good impression. Yeah,
when I was on the stage, I remember that because
I remember, and that's what it felt like. The first annual AMP Games was that first annual coming together. Both coasts, everyone's coming in one place to have something that was a lot of fun and a chance to meet people from far away.
It radiated, like, it really did radiate with me and with everyone. It resonated rather with all of us, because you could feel like the energy was like just there. It was like you could touch it. It was palpable. It was like, wow, this energy is real. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to be in that same situation again. So, and that's why I'm happy that, you know, I'm part of the AMP team, and we will be going to different events and bringing that same connectedness with us when we go to different events. And then we will be live streaming it to bring that connectedness to everyone else, so that even if you can't make it, you'll be able to tune in and enjoy it. So,
and that's another great point, that people feel connected remotely. And so we had an entire M10 Games watch party in Toronto with about 15 people there, all cheering and screaming for people racing the smallest wheel you can buy at 20 miles an hour. And so it's so great. It shows that there's really this appetite to have something you can feel connected to, even if you're not present at the event. And so I'm so excited.
It's like someone asked me, well, said to me, "What do you think this is? The Olympics?" I'm like, "Well, it's the EUC Olympics."
That's right. That's right.
Like,
you know, if you judge the merits of the sport by how people train, we train every minute of every day. So it's that level of passion and commitment, and there's skill and balls, and it's just a combination of all the things you would think would be present at an Olympic Games. And so, you know, I'm not gonna call it so pretentiously inflated, but it's serious. People care, and even people not in it care. So I think that's the standard.
Yes, definitely. So just so you know, Marty is in here. Uncle Marty is here. What's up, Marty?
I know he loves that term.
He hated it. He was like, "What you not much younger than me." Yes, I know, Marty.
I've
Thank
never
you.
made that mistake. I know not to call him that.
He's so funny. Seth said the M10 Games was amazing. Willie Brady put in a good showing. Yes, he did. And Marty says Roger was able to get the V13 to lose power on a super steep hill.
Wow.
So I want to talk more about that at some point. I'm probably going to call Roger.
Therefore, it doesn't work, and you shouldn't buy one.
Yeah. It's not perfect.
That's the discourse. Yeah.
It's not perfect. Well, I'm not buying that. It's not perfect.
Yeah. That's fine. More, I'll buy one.
Oh yeah, it's true. You're not gonna get the perfect. You just,
Right.
Wow.
The second they announced it and described the enhancements they're doing, I was very excited. It's just the price is a little tough to swallow.
Yeah, steep, very steep. Yeah, that's why I'm glad. I'm like when it's nice out, I'm gonna take so many photos and video.
Yes.
Because I know I can't afford one. So
yeah.
So,
but it's great because they're putting it out there. They're showing there's an appetite for it, and they're setting the standard and pushing Gotway and King Song and Veteran to do Leaper Kim to push a little harder, make things a little more waterproof, a little more crash proof, because that's what we care about. We don't need more speed. We have enough speed now. No. We're good. We need durability, reliability. We need a wheel that will last 10 years, not 10 miles.
Yep. So, drone for CCO says maybe put a bigger GodMod in a backpack, Bri.
Yep. So that's the God box. So we talked about, holding the box versus putting in a backpack. Brady told me he didn't want to be wearing something with that much energy in it, and I respect that. So we went with the box, the handheld lunchbox, but it's a backpack is definitely another option. The issue partially is the wire, so that exposed wire is a weak point, and even if you strengthen that wire, having a long cable reduces the efficiency of the system, so that the shorter cable is more effective. You lose less power, I should say, and so with that backpack system, you'd be using a longer cable. You would need to have just a big GodMod in there, which is totally doable, but it's generally better to have everything on the wheel if you can.
Yeah,
only
definitely.
racers would be having something separate from the system.
Yeah, God box. Oof. That's top tier right there. Top tier right there.
That's right. It's, yep. You're gonna be seeing those a lot soon. I'll tell you that much. Once it gets warm.
Yep. I didn't even see Willie Brady's in here. What's up, man? I mean, Willie Dope. Willie Dope's in the house. I didn't see him sneak in. So he's part of the AMP team as well. So yeah, we got a lot of comments that I'm skipping through because I'm way behind. But you, my friend, you did a great job. And like I said, bringing your real emotions and
yes.
And I thought it was important to just let you say what you felt because,
I'm so glad to have the forum. I want to be as transparent as possible. And I'm not kidding. I think about this all the time. In the same way that we're all collectively obsessed with riding, I have now become obsessed with this through the lens of riding. And so I thought, 6 months ago, I thought about riding every minute of every day. So now I think about GodMod every minute of every day. And I'm happy to talk to anyone who's willing to listen. But it's from a place of passion. You can't teach the passion that I have for this because it's a lifelong journey.
Okay, so what are the different sizes mean in GodMods? The Animus is asking.
Sure. So different sizes reflect the amount of the pool of power you have, and a larger size will give you more power to work with. The wheel, the effect of the instantaneous power delivery will last longer. And it's hard to describe because you have to ride it to see that it's sort of, you can push and then sometimes it has to charge and then you can push more. But if you have a big GodMod, you can just push and push and push and push on the pedals. But I may be not explaining it perfectly because you can lean at a steady amount and the wheel will figure it out. So you don't have to be riding differently with different GodMods. It's just about the pool of resource of power that you have access to. And another way to say that would be that a heavier rider would want a bigger GodMod. But again, any GodMod works for any wheel or any rider. The effect is noticeable on any wheel with any rider. So the difference is just how much extra power you want.
Okay.
And it's a linear effect. So there's no upper limit for any of the GodMods that you can buy. Adding them together will have a direct benefit on the power of the system. So every one that you add is, 1 unit of power more that you're adding to the system.
Okay. Here's another good question. Big boy, fast boy, Nick. He's asking, is there anything a rider using GodMod would need to do differently to calibrate PWM beeps? Or does PWM calculation become erroneous with GM installed? GodMod installed.
That's an excellent question. And I probably don't have a perfect answer because I haven't spent tons of attention on the apps with taking before and after measurements. But in general, I would say that a rider should not do anything differently with GodMod, and you can leave your app exactly where it is and it'll be close enough. If you have an additional safety margin, it's not a bad thing to have a warning that's a little bit early. So the worst case would be that the app would tell you earlier than it needs to slow down.
Okay.
But in terms of how you ride the wheel, the technique is exactly the same. The feeling will be different, but your maneuverability, the inputs don't have to change whatsoever.
Okay, so I think what he's looking for, though, is with GodMod installed, you don't know if the beeps would change or if you have to recalibrate them.
It seems to beep at around the same speeds. But as far as I'm concerned, the beeps are... it's the real metric that you can use. The only pure metric is whether the wheel is on or off, and what that means is you can feel at high speeds the pedals will sort of dip down, and that's the motor getting overpowered. So you have to respect that feeling the way you would otherwise, but it's a much more refined feeling. So that snap back where it recovers is much more instantaneous with GodMod. So if anything, it may encourage bad technique because then you ride a wheel without GodMod and you cut off. But as far as changing your behavior, you don't have to do anything differently whatsoever.
Okay, so
the app doesn't have to change, the riding doesn't have to change, and the speeds are not different.
So I think what I'm getting is it doesn't recalculate your PWM beeps.
Right.
So it's not going to the GodMod. It's giving the battery, or the motor, buffer. the buffer. It's giving it what it needed from the battery that it wasn't getting, but the system is probably not reading. It won't factor in the GodMod buffer in that PWM. So it's still going to beep at the same time because it doesn't the GodMod is not part of the wheel. So it's something that you've built to add onto the wheel. So because it's not part of it, it probably doesn't have the ability to incorporate it into that calculation for the PWM difference. So your
only
beeps
able
won't
to
change.
adjust it up or down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly as you said. It's essentially the same with the beeps, and you could treat it as the same.
Okay. NYC Tarzan, what's up, Tarzan? Good to see you, buddy.
Welcome, Tarzan.
Tarzan made it down here to the Wheel Life Rally and did very
I
well.
heard he did.
Was still winning races going backwards through the finish line.
Yep.
Rubbing it in people's faces. I was like,
The touchdown dance, the
that
classic.
was just dirty, man. He was just dirty.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Good.
True. He's telling Frank Coyce, he said, you can argue all you want, but if the results are true, that's all that matters. If it truly is BS, then the word will get around that is it. So that's
right.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I've staked my reputation on this product. I've put my name as synonymous, and so there's a lot to lose on my side in terms of if I'm selling something that doesn't work, that people will know that very quickly, and that I care about my reputation, and that matters to me. So it sort of falls apart very quickly. That if I were selling something that flat out doesn't work, and you have to pretend that it does, people would figure it out fast. It's been out now for long enough that people would know if this were not a real thing or just a sticker. It's been out since August of last year, so that's about 4 or 5 months.
E-Rider A, man. Some of his comments between him and Mickey, I don't know. I go to click it and put it on the screen. I'm like, nope, don't put that up.
No.
No. They can read it in the comment section. I ain't putting it on the screen. All right, so I think, and I'm scanning through quickly to see if I can grab any big questions like that I may see.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. He said, "Where's our GodMod counter?" Here, let me move that up so it's not over us. Marketing theory says if you can plant an idea more than 7 times, you've permanently branded your product in someone's brain. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure GodMod.
There it goes, man. You've been pro.
Oh, here's a question. Can I install 2 more GodMods on my Sherman? That's
yes.
EUCXR.
Probably. So this one's tricky because my Sherman predates the eWheels version with the fuse, and so the fuse takes up a little bit of space and occupies that gap. So Angel has the GodMod in his Sherman, and he's looking to add more because of how well it works. So you can do a different size and sort of fit it in there a little tricky. So if that's a little more custom, where if you're trying to do more than one on the Sherman with the fuse, then it has to be a little bit, you have to custom order that, which is fine. And I'm happy to make those, but it's not a standard size. The alternative is to remove the fuse, but I don't recommend that because I'm very hesitant to recommend any of those kinds of things because it's a very personal decision. I don't pretend to understand these wheels better than anyone who's selling them. The fuse, in my opinion, doesn't do anything, but maybe there's a reason they have it. My Sherman doesn't have the fuse, so I can fit extra GodMods in there very easily. But I have not removed the fuse from anyone's wheel. But that would be the easy way to make extra space.
Yeah. Well, that's tough. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I ain't telling nobody to take nothing out that could be helping.
This is a purely additive upgrade.
Yeah.
Only putting things in, and that's why it's
Yeah, don't take nothing. Like if you working on your car, and start taking stuff out.
Right.
Don't do that.
You start losing things.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You can add stuff that can help, but don't start taking stuff out. All right. I think we got to wrap it up. I know we could go for longer. Because there's more things I wanted to talk about, but I was just trying to see if anybody could hold on. If anybody can Mickey, you stop. Mickey needs help. Oh man. So there are plenty of things to talk about, but I just wanted to make sure if there's anybody that has a legitimate question that wanted it answered in regards to GodMod right now. I believe that we've already answered all the questions that you would need, but if you have another one that you haven't gotten in, just put some question marks in the thing and write question or something, because I'm scrolling through fast now because we were way behind in the chats. And I apologize to everybody in the chats. You know that I usually try to get to the people in the chat room as well, but we have more people in the chat room today than we have ever had. And I definitely did not get a chance to get to all these comments. There's so many, but I just wanted to see. I don't want anyone to leave having questions about it that they didn't get answered.
Exactly. You know? That's the whole purpose, to clear up any misconception.
Yeah, I don't see any, but
well, I can,
okay. Declan, we got to say gyrocycle on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Gyrocycle.
Coming soon. You heard it here first.
Yeah, Mickey, you're a nut job, but you know you're my boy. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna wrap it up, people. If there are any more questions that we didn't get to,
here, I actually thought of something that you had talked about on your last show.
Okay.
That question came from Mickey, but he asked it already, so he's doing a service by not repeating the question, but I'll bring it up. And that question is, can GodMod stress your battery
yes.
or reduce range? Does it reduce range? So range, no, it may actually improve the range. And as far as stressing the battery, it's not a clearly defined term, but it seems that it's a buffer for the system. It adds power to the whole riding system, and it's creating a gap between the demand for power and the battery itself, where it doesn't have to push as hard. So it can recharge the GodMod slowly at its own pace, and it doesn't have to expend the full energy to propel the motor. And what that means is that your battery is actually more stressed without GodMod. That GodMod is designed to mitigate the stress on the battery. And again, it's not a perfect system. It doesn't work in 100% of every example you can think of, but that is the intended usage, is to reduce stress on the battery.
Very good. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Perfect answer. And in case you were wondering, there it is. So the Animus is asking about a discount code. No, we don't got a discount code.
Yeah, not yet, but I'm sure Cobra is gonna want one after this. And there are discount codes, so we'll get that set up, Cobra.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So just get into the live stream after. If you come back to this live stream, you'll see later on, and then going forward. Then going forward, we'll add it to other things as well. But for right now, you can go to godmod.us and get your very own GodMod, or 2 or 3.
Now we're talking.
Oh no,
be sure to type in which wheel it's for. If you purchase through the site and haven't talked to me, just enter which wheel.
Yeah,
so that I can get you the right one.
It's important to know the wheel because obviously he's been done testing on different wheels to see what fits where and what works the best. So,
and the connectors. There's about 5 to 6 different plugs for the wheels that are popular now. So I had a case of plugs, and then I realized I actually need 6 cases of plugs. And you can't.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
It's been I've been trying to get my head around it, and then the Sherman S comes with a completely proprietary plug that nobody sells. I don't understand why that. Yeah. So don't envy me and the headaches I have, because it feels like the companies are working against me on these wheels, changing them to make it harder to add GodMod. But I persevere. They won't foil me.
So Jerry, you said you need a Monster Pro. Hit me up. And
yep, Jerry's looking for one. He loved it.
Yeah, I love it too, and I don't know if I can. I'm just anyway. Gone 420 says, "What time is this gonna end?" Right now. It's gonna end right now. That answers your question. We are done. We're wrapping it up. I got my family's upstairs going, "You're monopolizing the downstairs." So
You can tell him I said thank you.
Yeah, my basement is still not done. That was my contractor
Yeah.
that my dog was barking at that snuck by.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's still
Yeah.
working. He's almost finished with the basement. Another few days, and so I can get back downstairs and get out of my family's way. So, but I thank you for showing up. I thank you for giving us the answers that we were looking for. I thank you for showing us who you truly are and making us feel who you are. And that, I think, is the important part, because it's one thing to buy something from someone, but it's another thing to invest in what I believe is possible future tech for what we're doing. I haven't even tried it yet, but I'm already on board. So I can tell you, I definitely appreciate you, and I appreciate the doctor jacket you got going, your scientist gear. I appreciate the yeah. I definitely I'm gonna send you. Actually, I don't think I have any yet. Yeah, I'm gonna send you the address so you can send me those GodMod stickers so that my wheel can be impervious to any. No, just kidding. But if there's anything else you want to add, now's the time. Or do you think you've good?
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here and to be talking about GodMod and what can be done. And the only thing I'll add is the next greatest invention that I have coming out of the GodMod lab is called the God Rod. And so we didn't even talk about this, but these are titanium pedal rods that are higher quality than anything else on the market. It's available today on the site, and I've had a lot of positive reviews. So there's titanium that you can put in the pedal to replace the pedal rod, and it makes the wheel more comfortable to ride. It reduces the vibrations in the pedals, makes them more comfortable, smoother. And people have tried titanium with lower quality metal, and what I found is that I'm using a higher quality, purer titanium, which has a more pronounced effect on the comfort of the ride. So it's like suspension, but it's available for any wheel, and you can get it today. It's not nearly as popular as GodMod, and it doesn't make the wheel. It's not as important for safety, but it does make the wheel safer because it gives you that buffer to not get bounced off. So the pedal won't vibrate as much, and you won't get ejected from the wheel as easily.
Well, so, I definitely want I want a titanium pedal.
Yes, but the cost of titanium is steep, and so the rod gives a lot, and the pedal would probably be amazing in that effect. But the rod does help quite a bit, and so I'll send you a first batch to try it out. Just let me know which pedals you have, and I can get it to you. But the way that I know how well this works is that Clark pedals come with titanium already, but this is a higher quality titanium than they use, and so you're getting an even stronger suspension effect. And the God Rod is so effective that it's to the point where you should replace whatever rod you have, even if it's already titanium, because this is higher quality.
Okay.
And so I not to be endlessly talking about products, but this is something that not many people have tried, but everyone who does has very good things to say about it, eating up the bumps.
Have you seen, I doubt you have, but these are the pedals from the V13. I don't know if you can see on the screen here. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you can. You got to be on the stream somewhere else. But I'm showing the broken pedal from the V13 from one of the New York demos. I was like, oh, okay. I think we need some CNC, some titanium, something. But so be careful out there, people. I think someone ran into something hard.
Right. But you should inspect your wheel. Just give it a good look every month. I don't know. Look at it. Make sure it's safe. Check the tire. Check the shell. Check your pedals. I had pedals that were gonna break off. I know Edwin had a pedal break while he was riding on the OG Sherman pedals. So it's something to worry about. The durability of pedals, definitely. But with this rod, it's supposed to be stronger than existing rods and not bend as easily. So it would sort of eat up some of those bumps and potentially help the durability of the pedal by not having as many vibrations. But for durability, it's the way to go, definitely.
All right. Well, I guess I need some titanium rods also. All right, people. That's all we got time for tonight. We will see you guys in the next one. Be sure to come back. I'm hoping that everything's done downstairs. If not, I may have to push the next show a little further back until I get back downstairs because tonight kind of stressed the family out. So, so you guys have a good night. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Deuces, everybody. Keep it weird.
Good night, everyone.